Hello and welcome to EXP Required, where we talk about Final Fantasy and other things. I'm Jack, and I'm as always joined by Mol. How are you doing, Mol?
I am fucking knackered today, Jack. I went on a 6-mile hike yesterday, and I'm in bits. I can barely walk, but it was really worth it. The weather was gorgeous. I saw rabbits, I saw goats, I saw chickens. I'm in a great mood, and following that, we get to talk about games today. So yeah, I'm in a great mood. We have a very special guest. Everyone who can read has already read the title. We have the one and only HaZ Dullul with us today. HaZ, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm super glad to be here, and like you know, having a great weekend, and what better way to do it than chat to you guys about gaming, retro, and anything. So yeah, let's do this.
Let's do it. So yeah, what we're going to do first is we're going to sort of talk about your career. It's been very varied, which is cool. And then in the sort of second half, we'll talk more about the game you just released, or your game you're releasing, and Beyond the Pixels and things like that. So I guess the first question on that then is, you've had a hell of a career, so almost 30 years of non-stop work, according to your LinkedIn.
Don't remind me.
Starting in 1998, 1999, great years. So do you want to talk us through it loosely, just to give it a bit of an intro?
Yeah. I mean, look, full disclosure, I never intended to be in games, right? Like, my original plan was to go to film school, but, you know, it was very expensive to go to film school back in the day, and, you know, my parents are not super rich or anything, so they're like, yeah, maybe skip this film school thing. We love the little videos that you make on our VHS camera, and your dad's always pissed that you always over recording the films that he records at night. Remember back in the day, you set the recorder on, right? Like Channel 4 late night movies. And
it was the worst if you had a VHS from Blockbuster and you had to return it.
Oh, yes, be kind and rewind, exactly.
Never did that.
But no one ever did, exactly. But I remember that I wanted to be a film director. I saw the movie Blade Runner when I was like 12. Yeah. Great parenting, Dad. And I remember watching and go, this is like insane. I have no idea, like, how do you get a career in this, but I just want a job doing this. And I started drawing as a little kid, started making little mini movies, get my brothers together, bless them, they just had to like stand there and I just filmed and tell them to do stuff. I'm making them a director already. And then I'll go, drama club, I'll start making little projects in the evenings. And then I remember at uni, I did a course called Media Communications, and that was essentially one of those guinea pig courses. It was at City University.
Yes.
Angel. It was weird. It had like programming, it has journalism, it had psychology, it had all these interesting little courses that you can build into like the future of media, right? The times where they used to use the word multimedia, right? It was those days. Yeah, Encarta CD-ROMs, those.
Just for the record, I want everyone to be very aware I'm feeling my age today.
Bit of Mind Maze, remember from Encarta. The Mind Maze was the best thing ever.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Everyone in my course ended up getting work experience, right? Because it was a 4-year course, sandwich course. So you had like 3 years of study and projects, and in 1 year you go work in a company as work experience. So the university set up places like BBC, Oracle, Bloomberg, and I just put my hand up and said, I want to work in a video games company. Because as much as me wanted to be a film director, the other thing that my other passion was of video games. I would be in Trocadero every weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Saving up my... Do you remember the Trocadero, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I would save my 20p's, my £1 coins for Time Crisis, Street Fighter 2. I mean, everything, right? I was obsessed. And quite a sidebar here, but like there was something about video games back in the day that was so social. Meaning, like, you go to an arcade, and it wasn't just about the game, but it was that the experience of sharing that communal vibe.
You're hanging out with your games, like, no, do it that way, do it that
way. Yeah, exactly. There's just something about it. And even when PlayStation came out, and your friends would go around your house, and you can borrow each other's games and that kind of thing. And I feel like today we're kind of a little bit lost there because everything's digital streaming, everything's like locked. If you got a Steam account, you can't share your games, and I get it why. I understand, the way the world is and piracy and stuff, but there was something special back then.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I end up like applying for these jobs, sending out my show reels, and I was, by the way, in my spare time, I was learning how to do 3D modeling, 3D animation, softwares like 3D Studio R4, Coral Paint, and all of those. Poser, Bryce.
Oh, all God, of those. Poser, Jesus Christ.
Poser?
I spent a long time messing around with the models and Poser. Oh, God damn, I didn't think this was going to be the day.
But you know why? Because it came free with the CD, right? On the front of magazines like PC Gamer and stuff. So I would always go to the news agent and just look for the best magazine with the free like games or software. I'm like,
that's how you do it. That's how you buy magazines. You look for the free stuff.
Exactly, there's always a CD-ROM. Wow, this has got a lot today for loads of assets and stuff. So I ended up making like a portfolio, and I applied to every company, like everywhere. Rejection, no. And then there's one call I got, was a company called Dabus Studios, based in Camden Town. And they're like, hey, would you like coming for an interview? We're looking for a junior, like an intern. So I came in, and I remember the first guy I met there was a guy called Kevin Wafer. He's the art director there. And he goes, listen, man, I'm just going to be upfront. Your portfolio is shit. I'm like, that's comforting. Thank you. If I didn't have any self-esteem, like, what? Because, but I could see the energy in your work. And I could feel the way you talk, that you want to be making cool stuff. So we'll bring you in 3 months as an intern, shadow me, sit next to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I get to sit next to the art director. One thing you forgot to tell me until I turned up for the job the next day was he was a chain smoker. There was a time where people smoke in offices. Kind of like Mad Men for video games, right? Apart from the drinking. They weren't allowed to drink in the office. And I was the first one in and the last one out every single day. I learned everything. I shadowed the programmer, I shadowed the artist, I shadowed every single thing, even the music guy. No one was escaping me. And after 3 months, my time was up. And I remember just before leaving, there was this show called E3, right? The big video game store, right? Rest in peace. And they were getting ready they was working on a game called Extreme Biker, which is a motocross biking game. I was messing about with the level editor, and I kind of broke the level editor. Because it's all proprietary tools, right? Back then, it wasn't like we had like game engines like Unreal or Unity. They built their own engine. And I remember like kind of breaking the camera system that was used to create replay cameras, right? You know, different angles of the track. And I used this kind of screen capturing software, and I just kind of moved the camera around to find some angles. Because of my mindset being cinema, I was creating these really cool helicopter shots and angles and stuff. And I was just saving them out as WAVs. I was going to put together a little showreel. And I did put a little rough showreel and compressed it as Bink. Bink being the software used for videos encoded for games. Yeah. I didn't think much of it. Next day, someone checked the server because you had to work off the server, right? It's a local intranet server. Someone just copied all those videos onto the CD-ROM and took it to E3. Apparently, like, I wasn't there, but apparently they're like, Sierra was the publisher, Sierra. Yeah. And so I was like, so you guys got some great cinematics in here. Like, you know, FMV, back in there, it's called FMV. FMV is a big thing. Like, we're really pushing that. And like, my bosses are like, yeah, sure. What's he talking about?
Someone call the intern back.
Well, I mean, they're like, the last person who touched this is HaZ. And like, so anyway, I remember coming and go, call me in the office the next week. And actually, I didn't know at the time. I'm thinking, oh, what do I do? They're going to like fire me or could my contracts run out? They go, so listen, so you broke the level editor. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, look, about that. Goes, we saw the videos. I'm like, what videos? Yeah, you know, everything you put on the server gets put onto the CD-ROMs that we didn't sort. I'm like, oh my God, such a rookie, right? They go, but you've now created a job for yourself. You're going to be doing you're the FMV artist. We never thought we'd have FMVs, but you're now the FMV artist. I'm like, what's that mean exactly? It means that you're gonna be on here for a whole year. We're gonna pay you a junior salary. You're no longer working for free. I was working at Tesco's at a time, you know, to make ends meet. And by the way, big tip for anyone that's listening who wants to break in the industry and or got a kid that's at uni wants to break in. That job working at Tesco's as a customer service cashier, best job ever. I'll tell you why. It taught me everything about customer service. It made me broke out of my mold in terms of communicating. And I learned so much on how to deal with people. And customers can be brutal and evil, right? Like, I gave you 10 quid. I'm like, no, you gave me 5 quid. You have that kind of thing. So I learned so much about that. And it's probably the job that I still reference today. So I always tell anyone, no matter what job you get to make ends meet, it all helps you in whatever career you do later. You always make it work, right?
I really hate the phrase, but it's all about those transferable skills, isn't it? And unfortunately, every job really does have an awful lot of them, even if it is just a customer service. I'm still doing customer service now, but I'm damn good at it. And I know that there is a lot that I've picked up in it and that I'm able to do that, like a lot of other people. You think everyone's got the patience to deal with fucking idiots all day long? God, no, I barely have the patience for it, but how can I help today?
Yeah, gritting your teeth. Yeah. I get it totally. So I ended up getting a job. Yeah, and that was the other thing. So I had to go back to uni, right? So I was at uni working at Tesco's and doing the internship. And now that I've got this junior FMV artist job, I'm like, I don't need to go to uni. I mean, I'm freaking, this is what I came to uni for. I've learned, what I learned in 3 months was way more than what I learned at uni. And I remember speaking to my boss, the guy who owns the company, a guy called Daniel Bobroff, and he owned Davis Studios, and he's like this really wise dude. And he goes, I hear you, but here's the thing, HaZ, and take it or leave it entirely. It's the only bit of advice I'm giving you is like, never start something and not finish it. So yes, you did 3 years at uni, you only had your last year, but yet you found this amazing job, and we're very fortunate to have you. But it doesn't look good later in life when you said you quit when you had 1 year left. Like, what, that may have a ripple effect on other things. They go, well, this guy is not a committed guy, right? He goes to the next best thing. I have to say, I listened to him. I finished my degree. I quit Tesco's because they gave me a bit of a salary bump to allow me to work there, which was super, super nice. And my final year degree, everyone was making databases and that kind of thing. I made a Flash game. A very early Flash game running off a CD. And it was a game called Bloody Mary. Not based on the drink, but it's a horror game. I remember the examiners were like, how do we mark this? Because we don't really have anything like this. But what I ended up doing was I read the final year degree checklist. Must have this, must show your process in the solution, all your typical university degree final year project kind of milestones. And I had checked all of them. The only thing is they were all video game related. So the examiner's like, we gotta give you a B+ for this because like it's like it checks the box. And I guess that was early days of me being a producer, but I didn't know that's what producers do. I guess for me it's like I would do whatever it takes to make something work, and that often means taking a risk, and that's kind of what I've been doing for the rest of my life, is taking those freaking risks, right? Because if you don't, you just never know. So after working at Davis, I got hired by other companies, ended up doing loads of like mini Flash games and stuff. Later on, I got hired by Codemasters to work on Colin Ray Rally 2, I think it was on PS2. It was the PS2 version.
I've got a question there, because the intros for those games, I'm not really a sports guy, right? I like the gym and running and stuff like that. But like sports, occasionally I watch football. But games, like the intros, are the coolest things in the world. Like, it says on your CV that you were like, video editor and things like that. Are they your responsibility? Did you do them, those videos at the beginning of the video? Yeah. Cool. Yes.
That was pretty much
it's down to you.
But here's the other thing that I can talk about was back then I couldn't, was heavily NDA'd, right?
Right.
And part of my job at Codemasters was when you buy Edge magazine, you'll get these like a feature in Edge magazine saying the next gen. There was a whole thing about next gen back in the day, right? Like, oh, look at PS2 or look at the new Nintendo graphics. And they were showing off the PS2 version, which was next gen at the time, of Colin Ray Rally. And they was showing off specifically their particle system and their lighting system that had various things like bloom and things like that on the car edges, right? And the rim lighting. Didn't have that in engine. So I had to doctor the images.
Oh,
that was my job. Photoshop skills. It had to look like it can be achievable, of course, but that was my job, and that was a massive NDA thing at the time.
Right.
And so I remember like people reading Edge go, "Whoa, my god, these graphics!" I'm like, "Yeah, Photoshop brushes, Photoshop brushes, man." But it was cool because I learned so much about the game development process. I remember like they would have those images on the wall, and like those poor programmers like, how are we gonna make this happen? Like, it's an Edge, we gotta make it happen. I'm like, damn you, HaZ, and your Photoshop brushes. I'm like, I'm sorry. So, but I learned a lot about gaming, and then I ended up working for a company called Kuju Entertainment for a game called Battalion Wars for Nintendo GameCube. And that, for me, was very cool because I got to work with an amazing team, mostly my friends from other games companies. They were setting up this division in Kuju. It was interesting because it's a Nintendo game, and there are a lot of rules about Nintendo. And Battalion Wars, there was one thing that was in the storyboard of a kind of like, it looked like a nuclear bomb mushroom cloud, very cartoony, but like somehow that got through. And then later on, when it was all animated and everything, Nintendo was like, nuclear,
we're not about that, Nintendo. Yeah,
big no. We're like, oh my god, duh. And that's when you start thinking about cultural references. Even no matter how historical, it's still relevant in people's culture, and you learn a lot about that. And I learned about the QA side of things and everything. It was amazing. But then as I was doing all of this stuff, I was thinking about my last 5 years, 6 years in the games industry at the time. I'm like, why am I making mini movies in a game engine? I mean, who does that? Obviously, we do that now, but back then, I'm like, this is stupid. No, I'm going to go work in film and do it properly.
Yeah.
So I put a show reel together, had all my cool cinematics, and I applied for visual effects companies. I got interviews, and they're like, great, this is awesome. But this is back then, not now. But back then, it was very snooty between the video game industry and the film world. The film world were like, yeah, but we're the big boys, and we're based in Soho, and we make movies, baby. You make video games. Like, you guys are nerdy. Like how the tables have turned now, right? Hollywood relies on game IP today, but back then it was so snooty. So I was like, okay, well, I'm a senior cinematics artist, and this is how much I earn. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, I do everything. I do the lighting, animation. Because back in gaming, you literally have to be everything, right? Like a generalist. And I went to work at a company called MPC in Soho, a moving picture company. And they were like, yeah, so here's the thing. This is how it works in visual effects, compartmentalized. So you either are a CG animator, a CG modeler, a CG texturer, a CG lighting artist, all of those freaking jobs, or you're a compositor. I'm like, ooh, tell me about compositing. Well, composite is basically you take the final footage and you take the final CG renders, and your job's to make or break that shot. So you can have the most amazing flying dragon and the most beautifully shot cinematography footage, but if they don't gel together, it breaks the illusion, right? So your job is to really be the final person. I'm like, oh, I like that. Such a sucker for pain. I'm like, yeah, responsibility. And it was great because I understood CG. So I was able to talk to the CG team about what sort of render passes I needed. I understood photography, and I even learned more photography because at the end of the day, when you're doing visual effects compositing, you're basically telling the computer about not how good things look, but how imperfect things look. Because if you think about it, the camera has a lot of imperfections. Like we have distortion on the edge of the frames. We have something called chromatic aberration. Where you see the edges are blue, red. But the computer doesn't know all of that. The computer just gives this beautiful gore. That's why when you see certain CG movies, they look fake because it looks so clean, right? What you need to tell the computer is something that it doesn't know, which is how to make things imperfect. And that's what I ended up doing for a number of years. And then one day I got a call from a company called Envisage, based in Pinewood at the time. And they go, listen, we're looking for someone that knows compositing, but also knows CG, but also knows someone that could work fast. And we know in film, people don't work fast. They spend 6 months on a shot. But you worked in video games, and we understand video games is very fast and agile and iterative.
It was.
And you have film background, right? Oh, it was. Yeah. Very good point. It
Zing.
was. Zing, absolutely. Oh, yeah, touche. And they called me in for this interview because, look, we can't tell you what the movie is yet, but the code, because everything's code named, right? And the movie's called Rory's First Kiss. I'm like, I'm just happy to be at Pinewood. Oh my God, the James Bond stage is over there. This is phenomenal. Get my little ID. I felt really special, right? And then when I remember the first day I turned up, the first footage that came on my screen was Batman. I'm like, I'm working on The Dark Knight. They're like, yes, you are. And I'm like, inside, like, bursting, like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, cool, it's just Batman. Oh my God.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. And it was like secure room. You needed an ID pass to go in. It was like super secure. There was no way you could tell this room people were working on Dark Knight. And what was I doing working on Dark Knight was very specifically previs and called post-viz. So with previs, for people listening who don't know what that is, it's basically like a moving storyboard, but all done on the computer. So certain scenes that are very complex to shoot, like truck flipping over and all these kind of things, they would make it on the computer first, figure out the maps and everything. Once everyone's happy, the director's happy, all the heads of departments are happy, the production design's happy, the stunt people are happy that this can be done, then they go and shoot it using that as a blueprint. So it was like previs, tech viz, and post viz. Post viz is where I came in. Post viz is where I would take the previs that these wonderful animators have done, the footage that they've shot on set, and I'll put them together to see what it would look like from a post visualization process. And the big scene that I was tasked with was, I don't remember if how long you've seen the film since then, but there's a scene involving the sonar, which is the big. Yeah, those
blue
are my
bit.
scenes. Yeah, well,
right.
Blue,
okay.
purplish.
Yeah.
Well, that was originally purple, guys.
Okay.
And I had to come up with the designs for those, come up with the look for it. It was amazing, even the phone stuff. And then once all of that was done, we would hand it over to a studio called Double Negative, and then they would do the final composites. And what's amazing is when you watch the credits, the visual effects team is long. But the previous team, there's like, 8 of us? We had our own little section.
Oh, so you stand out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was like, I could die happy. And guys, I tell you one thing, after that job, I didn't need to send my CV out. It was like,
brilliant.
You're hired. I'm like, I could be making tea on that movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You're freaking hired. So I became a VFX supervisor, which meant that a VFX supervisor's job is someone that goes on sets. There's less being on the computer doing stuff and more going on the film location. And your job as a VFX supervisor is to work with the director, work with all the heads of departments to figure out how to take a big ambitious shot that has a very finite schedule and it has a finite budget and make that work. So the director was like, I want a big exploding car. We should do it all in CG. I'm like, do we need to do it in CG? Why don't we just do a miniature and blow it up? Like, it'll be more controlled. They're like, oh yeah, we just thought visual effects was all CGI. I'm like, no, visual effects is about whatever it takes to get the shot, and that could be a number of things. It could be computer visual effects, CG, it could be miniatures, it could be anything. You know, if you got the budget, let's blow it up for real. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
So
the big one that comes to mind about that is, I think it was I remember seeing about the Phantom Menace for the pod racing scenes. You've got all the crowds and it's just painted matches, aren't they? And they're just kind of like fluttering in a wind. And even with the older Star Wars films as well, finding out that it was painted matte pictures rather than an actual set blew my fucking mind when I found that out. Like, that's cool as hell.
It's, optical glass painting. It was phenomenal. I mean, I remember watching the making of Blade Runner, and they had built the whole miniature city of the smoke and little bits of light, and then they had the optical glass of the spinner coming in. I'm like,
yeah, all of that's real. It's all there.
Oh, that's real. It's optical compositing as well. It's like in-camera visual effects back then. I mean, we use the word ICVFX a lot today with virtual production, but that's been going on since like the 70s and 80s. Even with Sinbad, right, with the animatronics.
And the skeletons.
Jason and the
Argonauts.
The Argonauts. Yeah. Harryhausen.
It looks like shit today, but you know, you can still look at it and appreciate that.
Totally. I was actually very, very fortunate. I got to meet Ray Harryhausen at an event in Manchester. Yeah.
Oh, hell, that's cool.
It was really cool. He came to do this talk, and I remember I wwent down like a nerd, and he had the skeleton with the sword and the shield. I'm like, oh my god! He goes, you can touch it. I'm like, no, because it's the only one that we have left. I'm like, no. He goes,
yeah, you don't want my hands anywhere near that.
Yeah, you know. And I'm like, my hand is jittery. I'm like, oh my god, the most down to earth, sweetest guy ever. Like this guy didn't need to make time to talk to every single person, yet he made time to talk to everyone. And I'm not just like passively, he's like eye contact with you, talking like, what do you do? What do you want to do? I'm like, my god, this guy's a legend, man. Really, really cool guy. So being a VFX supervisor, I worked on a bunch of movies. And remember I said I wanted to go to film school and I didn't go to film school? Well, being a VFX supervisor, as well as working on previs, was my film school. Because working on previs, I had to understand cameras, lenses, how to frame a shot, editorial, speak the languages of lenses and all of that. And then VFX supervisor had to understand how a movie's put together, from how a script is broken down to this on-set etiquette, which very quickly you start to realize as a VFX supervisor, your main point of contact shouldn't be the director, because the director just wants everything, right? It's your first AD. The first assistant directors are the rock stars on a film set. It doesn't get shouted about a lot, but without a first AD, there is no movie on set. These guys control the set. They somehow take the crazy director's ideas and make it work with the schedule. They're like the director's best friend. So I very quickly learned that from day one. And the best thing I ever learned, because like I was that guy with the shiny chrome ball and the red crosses and all this technical thing. Hey, can I get 10 minutes to just to take some visual effects reference? They're like, okay, VFX guy, go do your thing. But yeah, I learned a lot on that. Then I ended up working on music videos, a company called Passion Pictures. So I worked with Katy Perry, who a song called Unconditional, which is amazing.
Oh shit! Yeah. I actually like. Guilty pleasure. I do.
Me too. Me too.
Don't be guilty about your pleasures at all.
No, you know what, Jack? You're right. I apologise. I just enjoy some Katy Perry songs, not all of it. Some of her stuff is not my taste, but no, Unconditional's a good song actually.
Unconditional's a good song, and that song with all the flowers and everything.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I was a VFX supervisor on that, and I remember Katy Perry working with her, and it was a 2 a.m. shoot, and she had just flown in from the US, and she is such a trooper. She was like, hey, yeah, absolutely. Hey, what are all these little tracking markers you're putting on me? What is you? She genuinely wanted to know. I'm like, how nerdy can I go? He goes, go nerdy. I'm like, well, okay, this is what it goes. This is fascinating. I had no idea that she would want to know this stuff, but she really wanted to know all this stuff. She was super, super sweet to work with. And then I remember like the directors, they were running out of time, and they go, shit, we got all this like we got this what you call second unit stuff of things exploding in slow motion, flowers exploding, all that. They go, shit, we don't have a second unit director. I'm like, well, look, I'm a VFX super. I can shoot that stuff for you. They're like, cool. Okay, here's $100,000 high-speed camera. Here's the team. I'm like, oh my god, it's one of those cameras that goes zip, and it captures everything 1,000 frames, right? I'm like, OMG, what have I got myself in for? I can't mess this up. And I tell you, it was amazing. My job for the whole 2 days was just throwing bottles on the floor and seeing it explode and seeing all this stuff and working with this cinematographer. It was amazing what you can do with 1,000 frames per second high-speed photography. It was gorgeous.
Is that the camera they use for the X-Men films, where they slow the stuff down?
Yes, is it Quicksilver or something? When he's running. Yeah, similar tech, exactly. Because like, when you shoot it, it's not exciting. It's like, zip, okay, done. Do it again. You're like, oh, okay. But when you watch the playback...
It's making me think a lot of the slow-mo guys as well. I mean, they've been around for so long, and I think I remember reading or hearing of, like, a very long time ago, back when I was still following them intently, that Gavin was kind of like, I can't mess this up, I just want to, shoot something cool, and then all of a sudden, he's able to do this whole YouTube thing on the side, and it's just like, look, what kind of stuff can we blow up and just see what it looks like? And it turns out, when you blow stuff up in slow motion, it looks fucking cool.
It does.
So cool. It looks so cool. Do you know what's even cooler, though? Blowing something up in slow-mo and then reversing it.
Yes!
Yes!
That is cool. And you're like, whoa. You can imagine. We're just like kids on set. It was amazing. So while I was a VFX supervisor, I was working at a company called Jellyfish Pictures at the time. And I was the visual effects supervisor on a show called Planet Dinosaurs, which is a BBC show about dinosaurs. It's kind of like Walking the Dinosaurs, but with CGI. And it was
Was this the one where they were going back in time to figure out like what actually killed them?
Yeah.
I was watching that like a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, it gets rerun all the time. So I was a VFX soup on that and a VFX producer on that.
You made the dinosaurs.
It's all about. I learned a lot about dinosaurs. And there was another show I worked on as well while I was at Jellyfish called America: The Story of Us, which was a big show for History Channel, which ended up like getting nominated for like awards at Emmy and stuff like that. And it was basically how America was built. And how these shows are usually done, they're very much dramatized live action of what it was like with Columbus and stuff, and then have some really good photoreal CG to kind of bridge between. The thing about that is, with television specifically, when the directors shot their stuff, they're off, they're gone. And they've got all these big sequences left. Like there's one big sequence showing the Statue of Liberty being built in time lapse. It was like a whole 2-minute sequence, like the longest CG sequence at the time. They're like, who's going to direct that? I'm like, I'll do it. Like, I'll do it. I want to be a filmmaker. And they're like, all right, cool. And I'm like, oh no, what I volunteer for? And I basically got second unit director on that. And that was kind of like when I realized, maybe I should really do the thing that I want to do since I was 12. So while I was in VFX, like it's a 9 to 5 job and I got time, whatever hours I had a little piggy bank and a cool filmmaking piggy bank. And every freelance money I make, I put a little bit in the side, I kind of raised it like 500 quid over the year or something, right? And I thought, I'm going to make a short film. And I was surrounded by documentary filmmakers. So I was in documentary land, but I also love science fiction films like Robert Zemeckis' Contact or 2001 Space Odyssey or Alien. I loved all that stuff. I really love like subversive, cerebral science fiction, as they call it, right? Star Trek is kind of that as well, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember thinking, what can I make that I can do all myself on a laptop, editing, shooting, and just hire some actors to like pretend to be something. And I remember going on the NASA website, and I'm like, there's a lot of public domain footage on there, and they look really, really good. I'm like, I'm going to download a couple. I downloaded a couple, and at the time I had watched a movie called Spinal Tap. It's kind of like a mockumentary, right? I'm like, so what if I did kind of like a Spinal Tap, but set in NASA, using the footage from NASA, and just hire some actors to go in between? So I'm like, I'll spend all week just downloading every single freaking footage on that website. They must have clocked my IP because who is this guy downloading every single thing? But wearing my producer's hat on, I'm like, let me just check the small print before I go any further. So I read the small print because every single footage here from JPL and so on is all public domain you can use, but you cannot use footage that has people's faces on, and you cannot use footage with the NASA logo on. What they didn't know was I was a compositor. So I would paint out the NASA logo and make my own version of the logo. And people's faces, I would just put reflections on so you couldn't really see it. Yep. And I would hire actors to fill the in between.
Foolproof.
So the short film was called Project Kronos. Yeah, I don't want to get sued. So the short... this is America, right? So the short film was called Project Kronos, based on the Greek god of space exploration. And I wrote this very nerdy script. I mean, it was freaking nerdy, man. It was like, I'm clearly obsessed with space travel. But it dealt with the idea of putting a human brain in a ball. And this brain is alive subconsciously, right? And sending this ball out into interstellar space travel. 50 years later, we get a ping back, a signal back, and we have made first contact. But not first contact like you would see like in E.T. or Close Encounter of the Third Kind. It was first contact on a subconscious cerebral level. because we all made a start. It was proper deep stuff. It's some Kubrick would be proud. It was like proper deep stuff, right? I had made it just to get out of my system. I didn't make it to get awards. I didn't make it to send it to festivals. I just put it on Vimeo. Within 24 hours, it got a Vimeo staff pick. Now, back then, Vimeo staff pick meant something big. I don't know what it is now. No one really talks about Vimeo staff pick. But back then, it was a big freaking deal. It was like the seal of approval. Every single website covered it. You know, Geek Tyrant, IO9, Kotaku, even Variety. They all covered it. They're like, yeah. And here's the thing. I think I made it in 2012 or 2013. And this was a time when there was a big push on movies like Gareth Edwards' Monsters, or Neil Blomkamp's District 9, or Josh Trank's Chronicle. Grounded science, found footage was a big thing, right? You know, Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch. It was huge. So it was like the right time to make a genre type movie now. So it went viral, right? And I started getting phone calls from Hollywood agents, Hollywood managers going, hey, you based in the US? I'm like, no, based in Walthamstow, London. They're like, oh, it's just that your films has American accents in it and there's a lot of lens flare, like you are obsessed with J.J. Abrams. I'm like, yeah, well, I kind of grew up watching Hollywood films. So I kind of like, my aesthetic is very much like the movies I grew up watching, right? So that's why it felt very American. So they go, okay, well, that's cleared that up. We're not going to call you at 2 a.m. again. So I then got signed by an amazing manager called Scott Glasgow at IM Entertainment. And very quickly, there was something called a bidding war. I didn't know what a bidding war was at the time, but apparently Hollywood studios were bidding on optioning the Project Kronos movie to be turned into a feature. I'm like, the film hasn't even gone to festivals. I thought I had to do all this thing, like put it to festivals, win accolades, get your Laurel Awards. I thought I had to do all that stuff, but I just put it on Vimeo. And that kind of proves the point, right? Like, you don't have to follow convention.
Yeah.
Like, it's all about timing. So through that, I was signed to a manager. And if you look at my IMDb, you see I've written projects for Fox, for Paramount. CV looked great. And a company called Bender Spink, these are people that made movies like Hunger Games and so on, they optioned the project and they were developing a project with me. 2 years later, I'm still working in visual effects. I'm like, I thought I'd made it as a director. Like, what the hell happened? Why am I not? I'm going to my agent, my manager's like, why am I not behind the film set? Yeah, you know, they still see you as a green director. You haven't made a feature. I'm like, but I made a short. Yeah. And then they renew it, right? They have what you call a renew option, kind of like book options, right? And they're like, okay, well, your options run out. Here's another like 10 grand just to option it. I'm like, but what are we going to do for another 2 years? We're just going to put it through development. At that time, they were developing this bombastic version of the movie, which is kind of like Interstellar meets Gravity on steroids. Like a lot of zeros on the budget. No one's going to give me that money to make that film, not even today. So I just knew, like, I'm not going to do it. So I'm like, look, I'm going to take the rights back amicably. Thank you so much. They go, great, you can do that, but you just can't make the movie that you were being paid to make. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to attempt to make that. No, thank you. So what I ended up doing was, I was like, and this is a bit now I tell everyone. So basically, when I was thinking about this, the last VFX job I had was a show called Poldark. You familiar with Poldark? Yep. So I was on the show, I was a VFX supervisor on that, and I was like, so we're in Cornwall on set. I'm like, what am I doing? I mean, I love Poldark. No shade on Poldark. A lot of visual effects in there that you don't realize, by the way, just an FYI. But I'm like, I should be making movies. Like, what the hell? So this is the bit I tell everyone: do not try this at home, kids. Big disclaimer, okay? More specifically, adults, actually. I had some money saved up for a mortgage. And I'm like, with that money, I could essentially make the feature myself. I mean, what the hell? Like, what? I just do this. Why don't I just take the short that's got a big audience already, and extend it into 92 minutes and just make that? And so I remember speaking to my partner, and she was like, dig the enthusiasm. A bit risky. Very risky, but at the same time, I know if you don't do it, there's always the what if. What if I did?
Yeah.
And I can't have you just moaning and drowning for the rest of our lives, man. So just freaking make the movie. But just the only thing I'll ask you is one thing. I'm like, what's that? Don't F it up. And,
not a small ask.
I've worked with some of the biggest studios from Disney to Tencent, and I've never felt that pressure. Like, when your missus tells you don't F it up, or it's not just a sofa, it's out the house. So what I ended up doing was, like, had some money saved. I'm like, okay, now when you spend your own money, it changes everything. You do not waste everything. You make decisions that, in my case, my house, right? So I remember phoning every film distribution company that had made contact. You spend a lot of time in Los Angeles. You meet 20th Century Fox, you meet Legendary, you meet all the usual suspects because your manager sends them out, right? And you go for these general meetings like Blumhouse and so on. And every one of them, I told them, hey, I'm making my first feature. Like, oh, congrats. Who's the studio backing it? I'm like, yeah, I'm backing it. They're like, oh.
Oh, the very polite, like, oh, you are. Oh, good luck.
Oh, yeah. Good for you. But a lot of them were like, look, man, we're going to be brutally honest with you. Since you're putting your own money, we feel a responsibility to tell you. Do not try to make Star Wars on a low budget. No matter how talented you are as a visual effects artist, there's a reason why those movies cost that much, right?
Yeah.
Focus on character, focus on story, focus on things that don't require a lot of resources but require good directing. That's what you do. Don't try to make something that you wish you had $1 million, $2 million to make, and you don't. You only have like 50 grand or something, right? Kind of gives you the idea of the budget, by the way. So I'm like, okay, so I had this checklist, and then I'll speak to distribution companies. What are you guys looking for in, say, 2 years' time? I kind of knew by the time you finish shooting a movie, editing it, marketing it, blah, 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 find a distributor, it'd be about 2 years before the film comes out, right? So I had started production sort of like mid-2015 through to 2016, and then finished off in 2017. And I had this checklist. They were saying, we love science fiction films to do with making contact with aliens. We love that. We also love the idea of robotics. So I had this like checklist on my wall. Now, some filmmakers will probably hate me for that, saying, you paid my numbers, shame on you. I'm like, no, we just spend your own money, buddy. So I had this checklist, and also looked at what worked really well in the movie. And the thing that worked really well in the short film Project Kronos was it kind of delved into like, what if we really did this? What if we could send humans through a wormhole? And what if First Contact wasn't what we thought it was, but it was something much, much deeper than all of us? It had this like spiritual, philosophical, and I'm a full-on atheist, by the way, guys. So when I use the word spiritual, very lightly. But like, there's a lot of thought gone into that. So long story short, we filmed this short film, and one of the reasons why I was able to get a lot of traction on it was because when you watch the movie, you'll see there's the credits, all the amazing people that came on to help me, like from the cinematographer to the production, they all just really drank my Kool-Aid and say, we're in there for you, we'll do it. I'm like, it's amazing. I'm like, I'm thankful to the crew that were able to support this crazy vision. And one of the actresses in there is a woman called Jane Perry. Now, Jane Perry, you may know her from Returnal, Diana from Hitman, and she's in a new game from the same people who made Returnal, actually, called Saro or something called? Saros, yeah. So she's in that as well. And she's in Cyberpunk as well. Mm-hmm. So she's like, but back then, she was just a really cool actress, right? Well, just then, like, not doing video games, right?
Yeah.
She's now this rock star, but she was the lead in my film. And it was amazing. I kind of knew she was going to be big. I knew she was going to be big now.
You get in there early and you're like, yeah, I made that. I did that.
Hungry. When they're hungry. No, but the thing about Jane was, she was actually, before that, she was actually a bit of a legend already. She was in the X-Files. She started when she was very, very young. She's Canadian, right? So she had done television, but she is someone that just loves working with filmmakers. Like, you speak to her today, and you have no idea that she's a BAFTA winner. She's like a rock star in video games, right? She's just this lovely Canadian woman that just loves creativity, just loves jelly. No matter how small of a director you are, to how big of a director you are, she'll just treat you the same. And that's what's wonderful about working with people like that. So she was in the film, and we had a bunch of other people in the film. And I remember, okay, long story short, the film comes out, called The Beyond. It launched January 2018. It was number 2 in the iTunes charts next to Blade Runner 2049, which is ironic. It's one of my favorite films, Blade Runner, and Wonder Woman. This is a film with no big name cast. It's just,
that's insane.
People like Jane, just because it had to be, right? Because it's a fake, it's Spinal Tap, right? So you kind of have to make it believable. And one of the reasons also why I got a lot of coverage is when you look at the credits, there's a lot of tech sponsors. So I got Blackmagic, HP, Adobe, Wacom, everyone. And do you guys use Blackmagic Resolve, DaVinci Resolve for editorial?
I've played around with DaVinci,
Okay. Yeah. Here's a fun fact, and it still is today, okay?
Okay, hit me.
When you load up DaVinci Resolve, you get splash screens, and they're quite random. There's like, one of them is an image of this like robot woman. That's from The Beyond.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, when you go to the Blackmagic website, all the images on there show, when they have these people like using Resolve and look at the screen. Well, the footage on that screen is from my movie. Why is Blackmagic using frames from my movie? That was the deal. They gave me all the cameras for free. They let me use. There's a guy called he's gonna hate me for like name dropping him, but Stuart Ashton. He's like very high up in Blackmagic now. One of the most nicest guys, basically, is this Mancunian guy, and he has that filmmaker's heart, right? And he was like, "Look, man, I want to support you. I just want to support you. I'm like, great. So let me use the cameras, 4K Ursa cameras, Blackmagic pocket cameras, lenses from Zeiss. And we were the first movie, apparently the first indie movie to be shot in Blackmagic cameras, edited in DaVinci Resolve 12, which was a little bit buggy at the time, and post-production right through to the end. So it was a great case study, right? Because other studios would just use it for color grading. I did the entire thing in that, right?
That's cool, yeah.
So it got a lot of traction. And here's the thing, and this is a tip for anyone that wants to make stuff that don't have much money. We all use tools on a day-to-day basis. Each of those tools have a company that makes those tools. Each of those companies have a marketing department that helps promote those tools. And each of those marketing departments have a budget to spend.
Yep.
Tap into that budget because they need new ways of showing off their product. They don't want to keep saying, buy this new Wacom tablet, blah, blah, blah. They want case studies.
There's also no harm in asking. I mean, 100%. I keep getting recommended videos on Instagram of, I don't even remember what her handle is, but she's really into science, right? So she gets in contact with science companies and she's like, hey, can I have merch? And they're like, yeah, what do you want? Like, I've seen her get like shirts. I've seen her get stickers. I think I've seen her get like plushies and stuff. It's all like branded with like scientific like research materials. It's like, I would never have thought to just ask. And that really is it. Just, hey, this is cool. Is it possible to? And the answer is, if it's no, not the end of the world. And if it's yes, the doors that open are just fucking incredible.
100%. You just pretty much described how I get shit done. Sometimes I would, like, when we're shooting footage, right, I'll just like, just shoot it, ask for forgiveness later. And I remember on the Beyond, we were shooting in the field and there was this, I forgot where it was, it's somewhere up north of the UK, but there's this big, massive satellite dish. I'm like, oh my God, this is the scene where the character at the end walks through the field. We get this beautiful wide shot, got this massive satellite dish, and we hear the beep, beep, beep. I'm like, it's beautiful. We shot it, and I remember like these security guys going, so, this is a scientific reservation area. I'm like, yeah, we're just shooting a woman walking by. You just happen to have this thing in the background. Goes, okay, we know what's going on. What, can you just tell us what you're working on? I'm like, sure, I'm working on this. And I kind of pitched them this entire thing. They're like, that sounds incredibly nerdy. You should go speak to someone in that building. Because they're the security, what they know, right? And then I got to meet one of the guys from the ESA, European Space Agency. And I was there, so like, what's your movie? I was like, it's about this, and I want to put, it's always about NASA, but wouldn't it be great if we put the Europeans and the Brits on the map? And it's about, I was really like hammering it in there. and they go, okay, well, what can we do for you? I'm like, well, look, there's a couple of scenes we've still got to shoot, and it's the space agency scene. And I hear that you have the Leicester Space Center. They're like, yeah. I'm like, wouldn't it be great if we shot some footage on the Leicester Space Center? They're like, okay, look, tell you what, because you asked, your project is cool, and you're a Brit, and you clearly love science and space travel, you could shoot there when there's no visitors, and that's after hours, after 6, and you just buy the security some like pizza or something, and just make sure, like, and make sure you put the ESA logo on and stuff, and let us see the footage before you put it in the movie. I'm like, done. So when you watch the movie, and check out the trailer, The Beyond, when you see the trailer, there are shots in there where we've got this guy in the lift and it's going up the rocket. And I was like, how did you do that? This is phenomenal. And I'm like, yeah, that's the Space Center, baby.
We just went there.
There's a shot where all the robot astronauts are floating, and it's in the International Space Station, ISS. They're like, how did you get a CG model that looks so really interior? I'm like, no, that's real. So there's a whole, after this podcast, I'll send you a link to the making of, which you can probably put at the bottom. And it's free. I made it free for everyone to watch because I think people should know how this stuff is done. It's basically science fiction filmmaking 101. It shows you how I shot everything, and it gives it all away. So watch the movie first. But it's the same for what you're saying, Mol. If you don't ask, it could have been a no, and it's like, great, fine, it's a no. But if there's a maybe, that's where you hustle hard. And if it's a yes, then that's where you don't disappoint. So the film came out and it was doing really well. In April, we get our sales report back. When you make a movie, every quarterly you get a sales report from the distribution company. Our distribution company is a company called Gravitas Ventures. And we had a lot of companies that were like interested in distributing the movie. One advice I took from a lot of filmmaker friends of mine, they're like, do not make the wrong deal with the wrong distribution company. Because there are a lot of movies that come out, they get buried. Especially as your first independent movie, most filmmakers write it off as like a rites of passage. You're in and you're done, right? Unless you're someone like big like Gareth Edwards or someone. And even with Gareth, and when I read about Gareth Edwards as well, like, you know, he got a deal with Vertigo, which is a very, very good distribution company who believed in the film. So I remember sending it to various companies. One of them was Blumhouse, actually. Blumhouse were actually very close in taking it because it's found footage. But they were like, look, we love the movie, but the thing is, you know, we do horror mainly at the time. Obviously, it's before The Purge and so on. But we are signing one science fiction film, so we can only pick one, and we picked the other one, but we love your movie, so please stay in touch. And I became regular contact with them afterwards. But the movie's called Upgrade that they picked up. It's the guy who did The Invisible Woman. He was the guy who did Saw originally. This was the first Saw movie. So there was James Wan and there's this other guy. It was the other guy. And he directed this. I'm like, oh my God, yes, that movie's amazing. I'm so glad it was up against that. So Gravitas Ventures came in afterwards. But before that, I submitted the film to a company called Gunpowder and Sky. It's a distribution company that makes these really weird and quirky movies, but they're backed by the former founder of MTV. And they were so close on signing. And then one day, within the week, they decided to make people redundant. And two of the executives there left and they went to work at Gravitas Ventures. And they saw the film. They go, wait, wasn't that the film that we were looking at in the company that we got made redundant? And this is where it's down to people as opposed to the brand and the company. Those guys, Josh Spector and the other guy's called Adam, I think, they were like quoting lines from the film. So I'm like, oh shit. Like most distribution companies are like, oh yeah, we just look at the trailer, put it part of the catalogue, put some promo and hope for the best. These guys, oh, this is really cool.
They actually watched it.
Yeah, they actually watched it. So they came on to distribute the film. Now here's the thing. Because I was self-financing the film, right? Just before the release of the film, this was around November 2017, I did a screen test. Because everyone's like, look, you put your own money in it, screen test the film for your own sake. Because you're tunnel vision, right? So I screen test the film. And we had scorecards, and scorecards came back. Everyone's like, cool movie, we get it. There was a lot of common things that came back. And one of the biggest common things was, at the time, there was a lot of CGI shots in there. And a lot of the notes that came back, the common notes was, we don't understand what we're watching. Because it starts off with this beautiful CGI shot of this big asteroid, and we're hearing first contact, beautiful camera moves. And then we cut to talking head found footage shots. Which one is it? And then if you look at like found footage movies, like, the following is found footage. What you're about to watch is... It sets you up. It doesn't matter how shaky cam it is. You're in for it, right? So then I realized, oh my God, I've got to do this one thing. I've got to make my CG look shitter. Essentially. So I'm like, I had like over 2,000 shots. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And this is, again, a good advice for anyone listening. Sometimes having the biggest budget doesn't really make you a great artist. I had zero money left on this film, and I had 2,000 shots to make look shitter in order to make it feel like it's part of the shaky cam found footage. And I'm like, oh my God, I did the maths. Even if I worked 24 hours with no sleep, I still would... Oh, by the way, this was the decision I had to make when the distributor signed on to release the movie. So I had like 2 months left, right? So I'm like, oh, and they released the trailer and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. So I remember ringing up Josh and listen, can we pull back the release date? They're like, what the fuck are you thinking? You're not George Lucas, dude. You're not James Cameron. You're like, no, you can't. That's not how it works. I'm like, okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to recut the movie. They're like, okay. I screen tested it. I go, okay, well, you screen tested it. That's good to hear. What sort of changes we're talking about here? So I want to remove a lot of the fancy visual effects shots. And they're like, the trailer shots. the trailer shot, the marketer's dream. I'm like, yeah. They go, why? I go, here's the thing. This is what I want to do. I want to make a movie that's so grounded that it feels like Spinal Tap. And I feel like anything that feels a bit flashy will break away the illusion and it won't have the same impact as the short did. This is where you really decide who is in there with you. They're like, okay, although we disagree to this last minute curveball, we back your vision as a filmmaker. So we can't pull back the release date, but do what you need to do and we will update the movie on our end. And here's the milestone to hit. I'm like, great. Now I'm like, I've got to figure out how to do 2,000 visual effects shots. And then I was looking at my phone, and my manager is based in LA, and I'd always film my screen and send him stuff what I'm working on. And I looked at the footage, I'm like, that kind of looks what I need to do. Ring up my cinematographer. Hey, could you come around my house, bring the 4K Blackmagic Ursa camera, bring a 50mm lens, 24mm lens, and lots of black sheeting and gaffer tape. He was like, bro, what are we shooting in your house, man? Like,
Yeah, it does sound a little bit suspicious when you put it like that.
I don't want to sign up to this. I'm like, no, it's the beyond. It's the beyond. He's like, okay, cool. So he comes around. We gaffer tape black curtains on my front room and have my Apple Mac Retina screen, right? You know, the iMac. And what I did was I played back all of the visual effects shots in front of the camera. So all the visual effects was playing, and it was filming in the camera. Now, remember what I was talking about earlier on about imperfection? Well, here's the thing. The shots were beautiful. And back in the day when you filmed your screen, you always had that like buzzy line zipping along, right? But we can fix that now because firstly, the screens are so much more advanced. We don't have that issue. But also you adjust the shutter setting on your camera and it synchronizes the frame rate, right? So you're in sync. So you don't get that buzziness. But what we're getting is we're getting the distortion. And I was getting a little light and I was flicking on the side of the camera with a little torchlight. You get this lens flares kicking off. And I was getting all of that in camera in 4K. And now when you put the shots, the new captured shots from the visual effects playing back out of After Effects into the footage, and you put it next to the talking head footage, it was as if they were shot by the same camera guy. So when the film comes out, many people were reviewing it. Like Cinefex is this big visual effects website that no longer exists, but it's historically one of the best visual effects sites. They go, well, as expected from former visual effects artists, the VFX is so good. It's like they were shot in camera. They're photoreal.
Funny
about that. It was actually shot in camera. They're like, what do you mean? I don't care. I'm just going to share, right? They're like, what? But that's genius. But it's not rocket science. We've been doing that back in there. It's called rear projection, right? Or what we talked about earlier about the optical plates. It's a similar thing, except I'm just playing it back in. And all of that stuff that would cost a lot of money to do in CG and composite, like chromatic aberration, distortion, and grading, I was getting that all for free in the hardware. And I would never in my life would have come up with that crazy idea if it was that necessity. And necessity because I had no money and very little time. So sometimes when you're put in a box, your best ideas come out. Which is why some of the best science fiction films ever come out. Like even action movies like Desperado, right? But before that, it's called El Mariachi, the Robert Rodriguez film. It was made for like $500 or something. And it was genius action sequences. And then the bigger the movies got, the more CGI they got a bit less soul in there, as we call it. So I tell everyone, like, embrace the restrictions, man. Embrace your limitation, because some of the best ideas come out of that. So from there, I then got hired to work on a proper movie now, where there is a budget and producers and a film set. And I got to work on a film called Origin Unknown with the lovely actress called Katie Sackhoff, who you may have seen in Mandalorian and Battlestar Galactica. Super, super lovely. Fun fact, when you look at my IMDb, it shows both the movies were released in the same year. That doesn't mean I shot them both in the same year, just an FYI. So do you remember when I did the short film Project Kronos, right? And I was getting flown to Los Angeles and I was meeting all these studios. Well, when you meet these other studios, they're not really to talk about your short film that's come out. They have the question they ask every dreaded filmmaker. What else have you got? So I'm like, well, I've got this movie about this. I've got this movie about this cube that appears on Mars and it holds the answer to humanity. They're like, yeah, well, I'll stop you right there. Any movie to do with Mars, Red Planet, and all these other, like, Last Days on Mars, they all bombed and flopped. Mars is jinx for us. So please don't go to Mars. Right? It's jinx. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I shelved it, right? And worked on The Beyond. And then, like, towards the end of The Beyond, a movie made by Ridley Scott called The Martian comes out. And it does
motherfucker.
That motherfucker. It does gangbusters. And I get the phone call, hey, you know that script we passed a year ago? You still have it, right? And it's still set on Mars specific. Yeah. We love Mars. Mars is the bomb. This is the thing. I'm like, you just say, doesn't matter. We'll finance it. I'm like, cool. So the film got financed by a company called Parkgate Entertainment in the UK. Really lovely guys. And a company called Content Q Media ended up distributing the film. Now, I remember I wrote the film while I was in post-production on The Beyond. And I wanted to make a film that, and this is pre-AI, by the way, okay? But I had this idea of, like, what if AI really took over jobs as we were predicting it is, and NASA got hit hard by that decision. And that meant they fired everyone from NASA. And now AI can scan the skies and do all these complex computational things and run multiple missions simultaneously. And the only person you keep as a human being is a supervisor. And this person, the supervisor, will just check the machines, check the AI, just kind of a supervisor, all right? Kind of like if you look at the supermarkets today, there's hardly any cashiers, right? There's just self-service checkouts. But you have the supervisor in case your card's not working or you need to reset and tap your code.
Which is every 5 seconds, by the way. If you bring back normal cashiers, I'm begging the world.
Oh my God, it's so true. It's so true. Like you weigh the fruit on the wrong thing or you pack it in a certain way, it triggers the freaking red light.
I can't buy wham bars. Like if you put wham bars on the machine, it doesn't weigh them. I have to get someone over.
Plasters as well. That's a big one for me.
Plasters is a classic.
Nightmare. I'm glad we're all on the same page.
We're all on the same page, exactly. So it was that thinking, that ethos, right, is what kind of came up with the idea. And then originally, it wasn't going to be a female protagonist. It was because it was really just going to be. We were talking to people like Kiefer Sutherland, Tim Roth. We had some really good, and they all looked at the script. We loved the script. Like I think Kiefer Sutherland at the time was like, "I'm off to do this Netflix show called Designated Survivor, so can't do that." I'm like, "That's okay, it's fine.
It's all right, Kiefer.
We forgive you." And then, if we think about it, like my first movie was heavily female protagonist with Jane Perry. And I think about all of my favorite movies that I love watching. Alien with Sigourney Weaver. Terminator 2, one of the, in my opinion, all-time best action movies
Best
made.
of the Terminator films, yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and best of the Terminator films, yes, absolutely. And that, Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton. I'm kind of gravitated towards female protagonists for some, whatever reasons it is. No, I don't have mummy issues, in case you're thinking that. Okay, I'm going to put it out there right now. This is the sort of podcast we can talk about this stuff, but no. But I just gravitate towards them, right? I'm like, why don't we look for a female protagonist? And they're like, okay, well, why not? And then we sent it to a bunch of people, and Katie Sackhoff's manager read it and passed it to Katie Sackhoff. And then my producers got a response back saying, listen, Katie read the script, and she's insistent to only talk to the director and not to producers. She doesn't want to hear the whole show business. It's going to be great for your career, blah, blah. She wants to speak to the director. And the producer's like, okay, cheat sheets here. Do not talk about how you shot the Beyond. We know how you shot the Beyond. Very ad hoc, very guerrilla. This is a Hollywood actress. She was in Battlestar Galactica. She's blah, 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 blah. She wants to work with directors that know what they're doing. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right, cool, man. She's just a human being, but fine. Jump on a call there. It's supposed to be a 20-minute call. She was like, so, I read the script. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't quite get it, but there's something in there that seems very powerful. So, talk me through it. And we started just jamming and talking. And because she came off working on Battlestar Galactica, I don't know if you've seen the whole series, but the ending is, spoiler alert, well, try not spoiler alert. The ending is very spiritual. It's very deep and meaningful about robots in the future. And she kind of connected with that element. So and the whole thing we were talking about, checkouts and AI and stuff, and she kind of gravitated. She's just like beautiful. And then 20 minutes became an hour became 2 hours. Sun goes down, and I'm like, and we're still talking. She was in New Zealand at the time doing something, and we just started talking about everything and anything. And I remember the first 5 minutes, I'm like, oh my god, it's Starbuck. Oh my god, it's Starbuck. Oh my god, like I'm obsessed with that show. Oh my. After 5 minutes, it's just Katie Sackhoff. She's just a human being like me and you. She just loves movies, right? And then she goes, okay, well look, it's getting late. I'm just gonna this one question for you. Why should I make this movie? It's the ultimate question, right? That could make or break. And I'm hearing the producers go blah, 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 blah in my head. I'm like, oh no. And I could be the typical cliche, go, this will be great. This will bring you back.
Best career move. Yeah.
All of that.
Just the
all of
words.
the pizzazz, right? All of the Hollywood pizzazz, I could say. I'm like, you know what? So far, I've got kind of far with just leading with my gut, my heart, being truthful. So I'm just going to screw it. Dr. Pepper, what's the worst that could happen, right? So I'm like, we should get sponsorship for Dr. Pepper for that. Anyway, ding. So I was like, in all of your films, Katie, you played a badass. She goes, what do you mean? I go, Starbuck in Battlestar, you're a badass. Chronicles of Riddick, you're a badass.
Yeah.
This new horror film, you're a badass. You're just a badass. She's like, okay, I get you've watched my film, but what's your point here? I'm like, my point is, in this movie, you're none of those things. You're not a badass. You're a weak, vulnerable human being that's combating her inner demons, that's going to potentially figure out the future of humanity. Oh, and the whole movie is a one actor in a room with a robot. Think Flight of the Navigator with an adult. And it all rests on your shoulders. She's like, you mean like the movie Moon with Chris Rockwell? I'm like, yeah, that. She's like, but I've never done anything like that. I'm like, and this way you should do it.
Now's
She's
a
like, okay,
chance.
I'm going to sleep on it, but thanks so much, HaZ. It was great chatting to you. I'm like, great. I'm like, shit, you're going to do this movie? I'm fucking scared the shit out of her. And like 48 hours later, 2 days later, I get a text message from my producer, call me now. Katie responded. I'm like, oh my. Hey, with the phone like away from my ear. He's like, so what did you say to her exactly? I'm like, look, basically, she goes, I don't want to know. I don't care. She's in. Oh, why don't you just lead with that, dude?
Thanks, man.
What's the freaking Godfather thing? Chill. She goes, I know what you said, but it's cool. And then we started doing workshops. So because she was in LA, and then she was traveling a lot for all the other films that she's working on. So we're doing a lot of these Zoom calls, and like after like the fourth Zoom call, we kind of like online buddies kind of way, right? Like she's in the jammies, I'm in my jammies, we're just talking about stuff. And then we're going through the script and rewriting stuff. And I said, I'm going to do this thing. now that we're friends, we spent 4 or 5 weeks doing these Skypes. Yeah, it was Skype at the time, not even Zoom, it was Skype. Yeah. So she was like, I'm going to do this thing where let's do a day in the life of your character. So, in your character mode, what did you have for breakfast today? How'd you get to work? And she was coming up, was like, oh, I have to go to work, they replace everything with AI, I have to deal with these freaking machines, and most of the time they break. I don't know, there's this thing called origin unknown. Whenever that comes up, that means there's an anomaly in space, something we don't understand, could be potentially alien. And she was just coming up with all this stuff. I'm like, this call has been recorded. I'm like, this stuff is genius. She goes, yeah, no, you just gave me the opportunity to just go up. Yeah, it's great to be able to work with a director like this. I'm like, oh, really? She goes, yeah. Oh, it's just that between me and you, producers told me that not to be this open because they said that, Hollywood actresses like to be very specific. She goes, no way. My manager told me not to be too open because directors want to work with actors that, and we both realized. Yeah, we both realized, Hollywood for you. So let's just be ourselves. And she was phenomenal. We ended up rewriting a lot of the script. I'll say most script was based on her. I mean, it's her, right? So she has to lead the whole creative process. So she became a creative partner on the project. Even on the set, we rewrite lines together. And it was just amazing to be able to partner with someone that didn't just turn up to do the job, but they were fully invested emotionally into this project. So we shot it in West London studios. We built the whole interior of the set, and we even built an animatronic robotic arm of the robot, very much like Flight of the Navigator. And then we used a company called Territory Studios to do some of the CG augmentation. We shot a lot of miniatures. I've always, grown up on those movies. I wanted to shoot miniature. So we actually hired an amazing company to build these miniatures of the spaceship. I remember my producer going, isn't that just easier than CG? I'm like, no, through the texture. I was that
you don't get
director.
the soul, man.
Yeah, they're like, okay, I mean, it does look cool, but it's a lot of work. I'm like, it looks good. The film came out, it got a theatrical release. And then when the film was releasing the trailers, in one of the trailers there's a moment where Katie Sackler's crying her eyes out and the robot is kind of consoling her. It's a really nice tight shot, 50-50 shot we call it, with the character and the CG looking at each other. Then my manager gets a call from Disney, and Disney's like, listen, we just saw this trailer for his Origin Unknown and we'd love to talk to the director because this director can direct CG characters and real actors. That's amazing. I'm like, isn't that the job? But anyway, so I remember my manager got given a page and it was another code name, which I forgot, but essentially it was a remake of Herbie. They sent me this one pager to go, have a read of it. If this is something that rocks your boat, let's have a conversation. Now, I don't do this anymore, but at the time I'm like, hold my drink. I go there, I do a whole pitch deck, 50-page pitch deck. I do a previs of the car. It was about a talking car, right? And these two girls. I did this whole thing and I was like, here you go. After a week, the manager's like, yeah, simple yes or no will suffice, but okay. We'll send them the stuff, you nutter. And very quickly, Disney's like, hey, the showrunner wants to speak to HaZ. He's very impressive with material resource. So I got on a call with them, and they're like, okay, first off, dig the enthusiasm, but we pay people to do this stuff. And you just got up and done that. And also, we haven't got the script yet. So how do you know what the car looks like? And you just kind of mapped out the entire storyline and what the character, you kind of casted the movie. I go, oh, I'm so sorry. It's just the independent spirit. I go, no, we love this. Just that if we give you the job, we have to buy all that stuff off you because Disney rules, right? We have to own it legally. So I'm like, no, sure. And they go, listen, can you come up to LA? Come to Burbank and meet the team. I'm like, sure. It'll be a small meeting just to get to know you and stuff. Great. So I go there, and it was the same week that The Beyond had come out, January 2018. So I was going to go to LA anyway to meet people and say, hey, my movie's out. Hey, let's talk about the next thing, right? Do the whole show business thing. So I go to Burbank. I go to Disney. I remember this guy called Rafael Garcia, who's now vice president of Disney Entertainment. Back then, he was just an executive, right? He goes, hey, HaZ, so this is the room. Take a peek. I look in there. It's this massive room. Some poor intern printed out my pitch decks and laminated it. There's all of my previs and trailer shots that I did, my pitch material, all on the screens. And there's freaking 30 people in that room or something. I'm like, I thought this was a tiny thing. Yeah, they heard you come from the UK and they just wanted to meet you. I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's cool. I guess that's cool. So here's the thing. You see the miserable looking guy over the corner? That's the showrunner. And he's now a dear friend of mine called Matt Dearborn. But at the time, I was like, oh, freaking scared of this guy. He's like an Emmy Award winning showrunner. And look, everyone thinks you're the perfect guy for this job. But he's a bit hesitant because you've never done comedy before. All of your stuff is pretty dark, cerebral stuff. So you kind of have to go in there and just amp up the comedy. I'm like, I'm not a stand-up comedian. Like, what? I ain't no Ricky Gervais. Like, pushes me in the room. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm in the room having a conversation. So the production person, how are you making your days? How do you hit your schedule? How do you hit that? Great. Tell us how your VFX producing experience has helped you. I am acing it, guys. I'm like, no one's asked a question on the comedy. She's going great. Everyone's digging it. I'm answering. I'm on fire. And then he goes, HaZy. Can I call you HaZy? I'm like, sure. So HaZy, and he's like, he speaks super chilled out, right? He goes, HaZy, I know you can do all these wonderful things with CGI. All I want to know is, can you direct comedy? I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of subjective, because understood. So the script that you read on the plane, literally, the minute I boarded the plane, after NDAs are signed, I got given a script for the pilot. So, pick a moment in that script and just pitch to me and everyone in this room how you would make that as a comedy scene.
No pressure, by the way.
Oh, no, in my head, I'm definitely not getting this job. And like, it's a no-no at this point. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out in style. And you know, again, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, when you're put in a box, some of your best ideas come out, right?
Yeah.
Here I'm like, reputationally, I'm fucked. So, I mean, I could really give a shitty answer. Go, this guy is rubbish, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm not getting the job, right? I already decided this is not for me. It's a kid show. What do I know about kid shows? So for some reason, because of that restriction, I kind of tuned out. And I got my red iPhone and went, so there's a car chase scene in the script, right? I'm like, we're zipping down the motorway. There are helicopters, police cars zipping out. We rack focus. You see the heat wave, and the two girls in the car go, "Oh my god, what are we gonna do?" The bridge is about to break. Thelma and Louise moment. This is a kid show, by the way, but I didn't give a shit. Thelma and Louise moment. They're like looking at each other like, "What the fuck?" And we jump, and everything goes in slow motion, and there's popcorn flying around. Doesn't matter where the popcorn comes from, it's a TV show. And then we see this cupcake truck tipped over. Zora, the other character, the girl, she's obsessed with cupcakes. She goes, cupcakes! They spin, they land, the hair's disheveled, the helicopters zip by, the police cars all come out. They can see on the other end, they've made it. End scene. Done. And then one clap, two clap, and then everyone starts clapping. I'm like, they're so going to take the piss out of me when I leave. So like, okay. And then Matt Damon's like, funny guy. I'm thinking, okay, I'm so not getting this job. So I walk out, I'm going to the elevator, and then the executive assistant was like, hey, by the way, you crushed it. And I'm like, yeah, the whole LA, you crushed it. You're awesome. I'm kind of used to it now. Okay, sure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate it. He goes, no. They're in there now talking about, A, getting you your visa, and second, you're directing the pilot. I'm like, what now? Yeah, you were in there pitching for the pilot, bro. You know that, right? I'm like, no, I thought I'm just pitching it, going in there to direct an episode. I was just happy to direct an episode. Oh, no, you're doing the pilot. You're setting up the entire show. Maybe it's a good thing you didn't tell me that. Because the expectation would have changed the way I pitched. Yeah, and then within like a month or so, I was in Vancouver. And I was directing the pilot, and it was an 8-episode show, and I got given the first block. So when you do TV, you call block shooting, right? So I shot episode 1, episode 2. I remember being in Vancouver, we shot all this amazing stuff, and I was getting ready to finish my episodes, and I noticed that some of the car chase sequences were kind of like different colored pages, meaning it's going to be shot by someone else. So I'm like, so when are we going to shoot the car chase? I'm so excited. They're like, yeah. So usually that's shot by a second unit director. And this is a union show as well. So we have a second unit director. I'm like, oh, that's cool. My bad. I totally understand. I'm just happy to be here. So, but before you go, my rucksack, here's all the storyboards I kind of did like a couple of nights ago in the hotel of the action sequence. Here's some references. I did some previs in Cinema 4D just to give you an idea of the cameras. And they're like, oh, shit. No way. They're not going to match. Okay, and then some Disney being Disney, they managed to get me on the union, the Directors Guild of Canada. So I had to be a union in order to shoot second unit. And then we got the second unit. And at the time, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been in Vancouver, but in Vancouver, they shoot tons of TV shows, right? So there's always, you see these colored arrows everywhere. And these colored arrows usually says LOC location or base camp. That's, people are shooting stuff. And there's loads of stuff being shot in Vancouver. And they couldn't find a film crew that works in television because there was so much TV shows being shot. So there was no TV crews. But there was a crew from a movie called Predator, which was not Predator Badlands, in case you're wondering. It was the Shane Black one, the one directed by Shane Black.
Yeah.
But the second unit team had finished that, and they go, well, we'll jump on the second unit. So I had the second unit of fucking feature film. This is freaking amazing. I remember that we were in the meeting, and you know when you watch the behind-the-scenes Blu-rays and DVDs, right? You're like, oh, this is how movies are made. You know, when they do a car chase, they had little toys, they plot out the scene of the toys. Dude, they were doing that. I'm like, oh my God, this is a Blu-ray moment. I'm just like nerding out, and they're like, this guy is a bit excited. Okay, I'm just so happy to be working with you guys. Oh my God. They're like, okay, cool. So I was coming up with these ideas, and I'm like, now, disclaimer, no shame, I'm a huge Michael Bay fan.
Which is your favourite film?
Probably The Rock.
Oh, The Rock's brilliant. I like The Island.
Island's freaking good. It's a good science fiction film. Yeah, I mean, there was a time Michael Bay had those moments, right? And then he went off and made Transformers, and let's not talk about that. Oh, the first one's good. But yeah, so I'm like, hey man, wouldn't it be great if we use a Russian arm? I mean, at this point, I'm like, I can get anything now. They're like, you want to shoot a Russian arm? Yeah, so basically a Russian arm, for those listening, is basically an SUV vehicle with a big, massive crane of an arm. If you watch behind the scenes of Michael Bay films, you see all the car chases, a big crane following the cars and stuff. I'm like, wouldn't it be great to shoot a Russian arm? And obviously the stunt coordinator's like, yeah, man, this guy, yes, my guy. Producer's like, oh, shit. So, HaZ, you know you're making a Disney show, right? But I'm going to make it very specific here. Disney Channel. Not Disney Marvel. Disney Channel, okay? Budgets are limited a little bit.
Think Hannah Montana, you know?
Well, yes, exactly. Think Hannah Montana, Descendants is a bigger thing. I'm like, okay. But somehow they're like, okay, we'll agree to do a Russian arm on one condition. You use those days to shoot all the other car scenes for the entire show. I'm like, but we only have like 3 days. Do you want a Russian arm or not? Done. We'll figure it out. And there's lots of behind the scenes footage where we're watching the dailies, and there's like 2 cars zip by, the camera goes in between, and I'm like, oh my God. And the cinematographer's like, this is freaking sick. And you can hear us nerding out behind the iPhone phone. We're just the kids. Anyway, I'm getting ready to go home after we spent several months shooting the pilot and second episode and the car chase sequences. I think there's like a week left for me to go home. I'm in the hotel, and the assistant goes, hey, by the way, just let you know that Disney are going to be screening the dailies. I'm like, what do you mean? Because we're doing a rough cut and we're going to screen it because they want to see how the episode's looking. I'm like, but there's loads of green screen. There's all this other stuff. All the interior shots have green screen. There's all this other stuff. We don't even have the CG car yet because there's a big CG car showing it transforming. We don't have any of that. They go, yeah, it's okay. They get it. And I'm like, I used to be a VFX producer, mate. I've heard we get it. And then we get notes back saying, is it going to be on green? We're like, no, it's green screen. I had that when I was a VFX producer. So I'm like, so this is where independent rookie comes in, right? I go into the edit room, boot up the edit, and start editing and doing stuff. And this is on a weekend. The editor comes in. He just happens to come in on the weekend. He forgot his bag or something. He goes, what you doing? And this is what I love about Canadians. They're so friendly and lovely. I don't think I would have got away with this in LA or the UK. Most definitely not in the UK. Be fired in the UK. And they're like, so what you doing? I'm like, oh, they're screening, so I'm just going to get all the green. I'm going to just do a rough composite myself. They're like, mate, we dig that, man. You're like a true filmmaker. But here's the thing, HaZ, it's a union show. So union shows mean there are certain regulations in place. Big one being directors don't come in and edit this shit or pick up the camera and stuff. I'm like, oh shit, my bad. It's just that, you know, this is my first show. I want to land a good impression. I want us to do more together. They go, okay, look, I'll bring in an edit assistant for you. And as long as you give the edit assistant something to do and you do your thing, then we can say the edit assistant did that. I'm like, done. And I just bought everyone pizza. maple syrup and pizza. I'm like, I will pay you guys. Like, you guys getting paid at Disney, but this is me contributing, right? So they screen it on a Monday. I got a phone call on a Tuesday from Disney. Go, hi, this is the office of Adam Burnett. So Adam Burnett was the head of Disney Channel at the time. Usually you get called with him 2 reasons. Either you get promoted or you're going to get fired. I'm like, oh shit, they figured out which one's it going to be. Yeah. I was thinking, no, they finally figured out after watching dailies that this guy is a bit Michael Bay oriented. Because look, I mean, guys, you think about it, right? I pitched them Lethal Weapon and Bad Boys for Kids.
I was taking a drink of water and that nearly went everywhere.
That sounds good though. I'd go for that.
Yeah, but I mean,
hell yeah.
But you're right, but like they gotta know what they're expecting, right? So I remember like Adam goes, so listen, question. We watch the dailies. First off, how are you making your days? I'm like, ooh, in my head, that's a weird question. Specifically, what does that mean? Basically, I'll give you some context. All the other directors are over budget and over schedule. They're doing reshoots. It's kind of a normal thing in Disney, by the way. But you've kind of shot all the footage and more, and you're not over budget. So we're just kind of curious how you're doing all this stuff. I'm like, permission to speak freely, sir. They're like, please. I was such a nerd, dude. I think I was speaking to the boss, right? You completely turned into a military cadet all of a sudden. And he goes, yeah, sure, speak freely. I mean, you're always welcome to speak freely. It's an FYI. I guess it's because I'm shooting it like an indie movie and not a Disney show, meaning that I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the shots, regardless of how big the budget or how big the resources are. You know, I'm doing all the previs in my hotel. I'm doing all of this stuff. He's like, okay, I don't know what any of that means, but just keep doing what you're doing. Oh, by the way, you are going to be directing the last block as well. We've decided. What now? Yeah, you're going to do episode 7 and 8. I'm like, but it's April and we're not shooting the last bunch of episodes until July. So do I go back to the UK? Because no, you're not going back to the UK. You're staying in Vancouver. You can fly to LA back and forth. Yeah, literally. You can go to LA. So it only takes an hour and a half to go for meetings for LA, right? Between LA and Vancouver. But no, you're now the executive producer on the entire show, which means you get to go to the writers' room. I'm like, the writers' room, the mythical place that I didn't think existed. I thought it was just a term. Oh, it's a room, and there's writers in it, and stuff happened.
Fancy that.
I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to a writer's room. That was the biggest takeaway. It wasn't the fact that I was getting paid more, and I was like, I'm going to a writer's room. This is amazing. Because that's your takeaway. So I go there. I go to the writer's room. Have you ever been in the writer's room? Just in case you've been to. Okay.
No.
So basically, kind of is what I expected, but a little bit more. So the writer's room for Fast Lane was a little bit different. Basically, they had this big round table. People had their laptops, and there's a big wall with various sort of like a map of all of the episodes, you know, all the various arcs from episode 1, 2 characters, which characters they, you know, that's going to leave the show, all that. It's all mapped out on like this big chart, right? And you got this one intern, and there's this big, massive screen, and this one intern has to type up, fill in the script parts. But there were like 7 writers. Oh, yeah, I've got this idea, and this one writer has to decide which thing to go in. And that's essentially a writer's room. I'm like, I don't know. I always thought everyone just write their own like scripts and then pitch it to each other. Goes, no, it's a whole group thing. And there's food, there's fruit, there's a lot of caffeinated, sugary drinks. It's full on.
Oh,
right?
There's no writing ever done without caffeinated, sugary drinks, HaZ.
100%.
That is true.
Especially on this show. It was freaking insane. So when you watch the trailer, so when you check out the trailer for Fast Lane, you'll see there's a sequence in there where there's the car chase, and there's a big massive truck that goes by, and the camera goes underneath the truck and out to the other side of the truck, and we see the car, right? So I'm like, I remember pitching them. So yeah, you have a production meeting, you have all the Disney people there, you have the stunt coordinator. I'm like, so I've got this idea for this shot, right? I kind of want to do a wanna. They go, oh, HaZ, this is a kid's show. What's with the wanners? I'm like, no. I'm not talking children and men wanners or Gravity here. I'm just talking something like, you know, again, adult reference movies. No Hannah Montana or anything referencing my references. And you see the producer like, here we go. He's going to mention Michael Bay. I can hear it. And I even had the shot, you know, in Bad Boys where Martin Lawrence and Will Smith gets up and the camera goes around them.
Yeah.
They go, this shit just got real. I remember blocking the shot out, and I go to the 2 girls. Okay, so the movie Bad Boys, they're like, what?
What's
and
that?
the parents like, you're not watching that movie. Just an FYI, but it's a good movie.
Before you
I'm
were
like,
born.
Okay. Yeah, or where you were born, exactly. So I want you both to get up. And we'll film it in slow-mo, but you just get up and look around and go, oh, wow, this is insane. Like, just do your thing. So I got it, and I had the camera, because you block it out with your iPhone. So I did this whole thing, and went around, and they got up, and got the perfect timing, and everyone's like, did you just shoot Bad Boys on a Disney set? I'm like, hell yeah. They're like, high five. I mean, we've never worked with a Disney director that does any of this stuff, so yes, go for it. And I remember the Disney execs, because the thing is, when you shoot a movie like that, there's a lot of money riding it, especially as a first-time director. There's a lot of eyes on the screen. So the executive was like, cool, thumbs up. And the showrunner's like, so, about the Bad Boys shot, what's the reason for it?
It's cool.
From it being, I mean, yeah.
It's fucking cool.
So
What more do you want?
I'm like, this is a moment where the 2 girls are coming of age. They've realised, they've figured out, they come at the end. And he was like, okay, look, fuck it, you got the shot. Oh, by the way, just an FYI, on the Disney shot, I mean, I'm going to say it, there's a lot of cursing in these rooms.
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
I thought a kid's show, and I thought I was being bad with the references, but no, they drop F-bombs in the writer's room all the time. I'm like, this is a kid's show. How's none of this gotten into the script? I don't know. So I pitched him this idea of like, wouldn't it be great? There's a big car chase scene, and the bad guy. So basically, the story is, it's about this girl called Lane and a girl called Zora, right? Lane is this overachievable girl, school president, all of the goody studious stuff, and Zora is this like chilled out. I'll do my homework when it gets done. You know, life's more than just homework. But it just happened to be neighbors, happened to be friends. One day they're chatting and they hear this noise in the shed. They go, what's that noise? They go check out the shed and they see this car. They go, oh my God, this car looks awesome. And the car goes, hey, how's it going? They're like, what the hell? A talking freaking car. And you find out that Lane's parents work for the Ministry of Defense, like the military, and they're scientists and they've developed this AI car. But what they now want to do is sell it to the military. I know for a Disney show, it's a little bit dark. They want to sell it to the military to use it for weaponize it, right? And obviously the parents are got ethical. They go, no, because basically this AI is like a child. It's growing. A bit like the movie Chappie, right?
Oh, yes.
Right? So they kidnap the car and put it in the garage, and these kids have found it and they've become friends of it and they've bonded with it. So that's essentially the story. And then you find out there's these bad guys that are hired, like these mercenaries hired by the military that are trying to track down the car, and this whole car chasing, and then the parents are looking for the kids, thinking, oh my God, my kids are missing. With this AI, it's very 80s Amblin, right? Which is what I loved about this project. So there's this whole car chase scene and trying to find them. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to do it in fast cut shots? This is pull out from the car. We go underneath this massive truck and we come out on the other side and we see the other cars zip this side, the other cars zip that side. They're like, okay, so that's going to be a big rig for a big truck. It's got like $100,000 worth of rigging, another $100,000 of that. It's a very expensive shot, HaZ. I don't think we fit in the budget. I'm like, it's just that I was thinking about doing it differently. Like, can I just pitch an idea? Wouldn't it be easier if we just stuck a GoPro in a radio control car? I mean, it's a 1.5 second shot. Do you need to have a big expensive camera? And they looked at me with disgust, like, this is Disney. This is some ruffian gorilla. Yeah, this is a ruffian gorilla backstreet kind of, what? No. I'm like, okay, fine, you know. Not all ideas should go through. I just wanted to share. It's cool. We'll figure out another thing. Yeah, that's cool. And I would go out and then go grab coffee, and then the cinematographer was like, dude. And the cinematographer is a guy called Neil Servin. He had worked on the Power Rangers TV show. New Zealand as well. I was surrounded by some of the nicest cultures, like Canadian, New Zealand. You get more friendlier than that. And it was just the executives of LA, right? And so he was like, man, I totally dig this. I think it's insane. We should just shoot it. I'm like, yeah, how do you do it? He goes, so, and then the first AD comes like, hey, HaZ, sorry to shut down your idea, but we were just talking. I'm like, I've just only gone and grabbed coffee 10 minutes. You guys already planned this? Yeah. So the first AD said, look, on Wednesday, all the execs are going to come in, but they've got a meeting, right? So we're going to shove them in the different, because you have different tents, right, on set. We're going to shove them in different tents during lunchtime. And one of the assistants has got a GoPro and a radio control car, just happens to have one. And we shoot it the way you want to shoot it. We'll just say we're doing some tech rehearsal. I'll protect you. That's what I mean. First ADs are rock stars.
Right.
You can do it without first ADs.
And again, it's the do it and ask permission later.
Yeah, but on a Disney show, it's a little bit risky. But I mean, it could be worse. We weren't using any of the actors. It was all stunt. So it was anything. It was a costing. That was no, as opposed to safety, right? We shot it. It looked freaking cool. We put it in the freaking movie. And they used it for the trailer. It was in the trailer. No one freaking questioned it. And then one exec goes, so we managed to get some money to shoot the shot then.
Yeah.
It's only until it released and I showed them, I told them, yeah, so we shot that on a GoPro. They're like, no, that's not a GoPro because it's a Disney show. I mean, look, it cuts really well. I'm like, let me show you some behind the scenes. Skinning of GoPros. It's like, oh my God. And that was the point. And they're like, okay, ignorance is bliss on that one. Ignorance is bliss. But that's my point, right? Sometimes people overthink stuff, especially when you're working in a big studio. Go, oh, we've got to spend money. And sometimes you don't need to spend money to do stuff. You just like, no one cares how it's done as long as it looks cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right? It's an illusion, isn't it?
It all is.
I mean, also just listening to all of that as well, and I think this is a good place to wind down for just a short break, and then we can jump into the
God,
rest
we've been talking that long? Oh my days.
No, it's fabulous. It's great.
I know when you guys said go deep, I might have gone a bit too deep, like abyss.
It's great. We love
Nothing
this.
is too deep for us.
But I mean, listening to all of that, it's really, really impressive to me, and I'm sure to Jack as well, that to hear continually like, oh, I'm not sure I can do this. I don't, I probably can't get away with this. And then just the underlying fuck it and doing it anyway. It really does sound like there has been a hell of a lot of luck and like being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people. But underneath all of that, there has just been a fuck it, just do it, which is so inspiring, actually.
Life is short. Whenever I say life is short, if you don't try it, you're always going to be asked. And like you said earlier, Mol, like, what's that going to happen? They'll just say no, right? I mean, in my case, they did say no. I still went off and done it.
Yeah, or maybe.
Or we can't afford it. But no, absolutely. And just to wind down, by the way, while I was in post-production on Fastlane, because I was there already, they go, hey, so while we're doing post-production, there's this other thing called Descendants. Do you want to be involved in Descendants? I'm like, the George Clooney film? No, this is Descendants. This is a big Disney fan. We'll send you the screeners. So they sent me the screeners, and it's a musical. I'm like, no, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong, definitely got the wrong guy. They go, no. Here's the thing. We Stranger Things is doing really well, and we want to do something along the lines of like dark, moody, and Descendants 3, the movie, isn't coming out until a year time. But we want to do a short movie that bridges Descendants 2 and 3. And want to release it on Disney. And, we're going to have a new streaming service called Disney Plus when it comes out, which it did. And we're going to put it on there. I'm like, this is insane. Okay. Well, they go, yeah, so do you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I storyboarded it and I read the script because it's going to be shot in a forest. I'm like, cool. So we're going to location scout a forest. Goes, no. We're going to build a forest. I'm like, which division of Disney are you from? We're the Disney Movies division. I'm like, oh, you're the ones with the money. You're them. They literally, guys, they built a forest. They bought this massive warehouse. They built a forest. You go in, if you go in there blindfolded and unbind yourself, you can smell the pine. And it had blue screen, it had motion control, like cranes. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what it's like to do a big movie. And that was like a 20-minute short. And I did Descendants. And if you go on Disney Plus, if you type in Under the Sea, a Descendants story, you'll see. And I've got my name in Disney font. That's when you know you've made it. So yeah.
That's so cool, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have a quick break. We'll be back in a minute. See you in a bit. Welcome back after that short break. We're talking to HaZ Dullul about his fantastic and interesting career. So we're going to jump a little bit more into his game and game studio. So first, you talked about in the ensemble class that you were in 2026, you mentioned about being an Edge magazine. So me, being a magazine connoisseur, decided I'd track down the magazine that you wrote something in.
One of my many dreams when I worked in the early games, like Codemasters and stuff, obviously I was like doctoring images and stuff, but I always thought, wouldn't it be great one day I made a game and I was featured in Edge, like, developer interview. Obviously when I went to work in film, like, that dream's gone out the window now. I can put Edge away. But during COVID, all my live action projects put on hold. I was on a rise massively, and then all of a sudden, like, no live action projects were happening. I'm like, God, and all my director friends, we'll just wait it out. I'm like, I ain't waiting shit. I need to make stuff. So I downloaded Unreal Engine and started just creating test scenes. Had this idea for a moon movie called Luna, which later became an idea called Moontopia. I had this idea, I prevised it all. I'm like, this is phenomenal. I'm doing all this stuff on my laptop in a game engine. This is freaking crazy. And I was showing this to studio executives. They're like, this is awesome. Like, because back in the day, like, when directors would pitch on projects, you do what you call a rip trailer, where you take clips from different films, you put them together, right? Kind of like a concept trailer, like mashups. Whereas in Unreal, I can create something very much bespoke to what was in my head and do it all in CG. I remember showing this to stuff and people, and they're like, and executives are, what are we looking at? This looks gorgeous. I go, oh, this is just some previs. They're like, no, we've seen previs. That don't look like, that's got rendering, reflection. That's got all the stuff that's very expensive in CGI. And I was doing it on my MacBook Pro at the time with Unreal 4.11 or something really old. And I started putting all this stuff on LinkedIn. That's another I tell everyone, that put your stuff out on LinkedIn. Any work in progress, just don't wait till it's ready, just put it out there. And I started giving talks online about how I'm using Unreal to kind of keep me going as a filmmaker while we're waiting for the apocalypse to be over, kind of thing. People from Epic reached out. They go, hey, we saw the stuff you're doing in Unreal, and we want to support independent filmmakers. This was like Epic at the time, not Epic now, right? It's very different type of Epic, because Epic's now huge and massive. I mean, it was big before, but even bigger now, right? And they're like, yeah, we got this is a new wave of virtual production. This is a new thing that we're pushing, where virtual production is essentially making content, real-time animated content in a game engine that can be used for film, TV, and so on. And then can be used on the virtual wall, like the LED walls that you see in Mandalorian and so on. So then they had this thing called Mega Grant. Like, would you want to, like, apply for Mega Grant? And Mega Grant's amazing because, like, they give you money and you don't have to pay it back. It's the best kind of money.
The downside there, yeah.
It's the best kind of money.
Sounds good to me.
Money, right? The only thing they ask you is, like, promote Epic and show that you use Unreal. I'm doing that anyway. Absolutely. So I ended up making an animated feature film called Max Beyond, all in Unreal 4. And then I remember going to GDC and I saw Tim Sweeney on stage on GDC going, we are now bringing Unreal Engine and Fortnite together and we're calling it UEFN. I'm like, whoa. It's like the Neo moment in The Matrix. Go, whoa. I was like, what? Because back in the day, Fortnite was, all the Fortnite content always looked like Fortnite, right? It's using Fortnite Creative, which is their internal tools. But now they're saying you can take your Unreal Engine worlds and bring them into Fortnite and use the Fortnite ecosystem mechanics, except you have your own worlds in there. I'm like, this is crazy. And what's even crazy, you can monetize it. I'm like, what? Shut the front door.
The magic word.
Right. So I'm on the way back. I remember like downloading UEFN and started putting something together. And I thought I had this Moon movie idea that I had done a trailer in Unreal already. And I couldn't get the TV show greenlit because it was like at a time where TV is very hard to get greenlit. No matter how many movies you've done, how many TV shows you've done, you speak to any director, it's still a task to get anything greenlit. So I shelved it and I thought, well, why don't I just take that idea of Mootopia, which is not getting any traction, but I'd made the whole trailer in Unreal, migrate those assets into UEFN Fortnite and make a Fortnite experience. And that's where Mootopia came out. And this is another tip I tell anyone listening, get in there first. I didn't wait until UEFN became this big thing like it is today. I got in there when it was still buggy, when it was still lots of issues in there. And I ended up becoming one of the first original third-party IPs in Fortnite. Yeah, so Edge reached out, listen, we're doing an interview about this new ecosystem that Epic's about UFN, and we saw that you're quite prominent in it, and you made an entire thing called Mootopia. We want to interview you and a bunch of other people, like 401 Creative. I'm like, oh my god. And I thought it was just going to be like a little mini interview, a little text section. I mean, you got the magazine, Jack. You see, I got a whole page, like the whole front, the whole page has got Mootopia. Yeah. I'm like, oh my god, bucket list, check box. It was insane, and that opportunity came because, again, I was curious, I was explorative, I was taking risks, and I also was chipping in it like every few hours in a day, but I ended up making a full cinematic experience, and it got released, and Epic actually promoted it on their website, and it got a lot of views, a lot of traction. Now, if I try to make Mootopia today, A, good luck. Second, no discovery. No one will find it. We got Epic Pick, so which is basically a discovery on the. We got that. I've not done any Fortnite projects since then that's got an Epic Pick, and this is pre-Disney, right? Like the Disney acquisition, kind of like putting money into Fortnite. So again, you get in there early. You communicate with the platform holders. They will spend money marketing your stuff. And that's how I was able to get in there. And then I remember I was at the Edinburgh Film and TV Festival, and I was given a talk about the future of UEFN, how storytellers can utilize platforms like Fortnite to tell stories, because it's all storytelling, right? And the BBC and Fremantle, a company called Fremantle, were there, and they're like, listen, we'd love to work with you on something. Like, we have this issue where all of our viewers are on the second screen, which is Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft. They're not watching the first screen, which is television. So how can we get them away from that screen and watch television? I'm like, you can't. You got to bring the show to them. Like, how do we do that? I'm like, so there was a show called The Rap Game UK, which is a show about grime London rappers rapping, kind of like the Eminem movie 8 Mile, where they battle each other verbally. Yeah. They made a whole show about it, and it's also the same show in America by the A&E network, right? So it's a really well-known show. I go, well, why don't we take the finale of the show, take the semi-finalists, bring them into a motion capture studio, mocap them battling, put them in Fortnite and make a Fortnite event and Battle Royale experience around it. Kind of like the Travis Scott, Ariana Grande kind of thing, but not a concert, an actual event, a game event, and gamify it. And they're like, we have no idea what it is, but here's some budget, go off and do it. So, great. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta freaking deliver this grand vision idea. But I had a company back then, I was running a company called HaZimation, which was an animation company. Yep, HaZimation, you get it? I did not come up with the name, just in case there's some egotistic kind of like, no, it was like my agent was like, you've got a certain style, an animation style. HaZimation. So we kind of went with that. So I had that company for like a good number of years, and we were doing these kind of like animated films and live action, and we started doing the Fortnite. And we ended up taking the Rap Game UK, and we made a whole Fortnite experience. And it ended up getting nominated for a Webby Award, a Broadcast Award, and that's when you start to realise, do you remember I was telling you at the start of this conversation how the snootism between film and TV and games was so divided? But now they're nominating Fortnite events as part of the Broadcast Television Awards. How times have changed, right?
Yeah, wild.
It's all about audience. It's all about the audience. It's really not about the sector of the industry. It's about the audience. It's the same audience that watches movies are playing those games. You got to tap into that. You know, there's a well-known saying called user acquisition. I hate that term, user acquisition. But essentially, that's what people are now looking into. Like, how do we tap into the audience? So I got into Fortnite heavily, and then I started getting the bug of making more games. And then I remember getting a job at Rebellion. I directed the trailer for Evil Genius 2. Really cool game. And you're going to see some Michael Bay kind of camera moves in there. It's a signature shot. I got it everywhere. And it's super cool. But then I got called by a company called Funcom. And they go, listen, we've seen the stuff you're doing. I was working on this other Funcom project, which I can't talk about. I was working on this project at the time. And they go, listen, we're looking for a director to work on this game. Can't tell you what it is, but it involves sandworms. I'm like, I think I can guess what it is, but sure. And it was Dune Awakening, right? And it was only supposed to be like a few months just to help us out until we find another director. But we just need someone that knows Unreal, that has directed live action, and that's very hands-on. So I was in Unreal sequencer, moving the cameras, and they said, listen, we want you to recreate the Gom Jabbar scene, which is the Mother Reverend and the needle on the neck, right? And the hand in the box. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to kind of set expectations here. I am not Denis Villeneuve. Denis Villeneuve is a master director. He's God. They go, no. We don't want you to replicate what he's done. No. This is a video game. We want you to bring your own spin to it, your own take to it. Of course, there are a bunch of things you have to respect, like the lore of Dune and the way things are framed. But like, you're the director. I want to see how you would tell that story. I'm like, cool. So I did a one-er. So the whole scene of the Gom Jabbar and that hand in the box, I did it as one camera take. Perfectly timed when the needle goes there, when the hand goes there, the dialogue. It was the perfect one, all in real time in Unreal Engine 4, not pre-rendered, with cloth simulation, the whole works, right? And I did that, and they're like, okay, you have to be the cinematic director for the entire game now. Because and I remember like asking like what gave you guys the confidence for me to do that, because the fact that it was a cool shot, but more importantly, you spoke the language of game developers. Like, I wasn't like, give me more sand particles, when they're like, this is a real-time game engine, we can't have sand particles, we can't have simulation. I was able to like be amenable because I worked in games. I understand the limitation of hardware, but I also understand that real-time processing takes a while, and there's a whole thing about game, but also storytelling as well, right? How do you tell a story in real time without people hitting the X button to skip, right? Which is a big thing. So I got that, and I was on it for like 3.5 years working on Dune Awakening. And then when I finished it, this was like December 2024, I'm like, what do I want to do next? I was having Hazimations, an animation company. I was kind of like a little bit burnt out, to be really honest with you. I was working on a lot of big projects. I'm like, and like I said, candidly with you guys, but there's one thing that I really missed, and that is I missed the way games used to be made when I was at uni. A couple of people in their room making stuff, put it on a disc, put it online, or just share it as a disc, and just make stuff. There wasn't this whole political thing where we have 1 million meetings and have all these shareholders just to talk about this law and then user acquisition. It just drove me nuts, right? And by the way, I love all the projects I worked on, but I missed that spark of independence. So when I finished it, I thought, I've got some financial runway, I've got some savings. I'm like, I'm gonna exit my company Hazimation because I really didn't want to go. Like, the thing about the film industry, I love film. Film will always be my DNA. But as an industry, compared to gaming, the film industry is very much based on legacy. It's a very old industry. As progressive they want to be, they're still very much like, we still have to do this, and that to get this done. Kind of like the linear format of a movie or TV show, right? They have that. You got to get pre-sale. You got a big name actor. It doesn't matter how cool your story is. You don't have a big name actor. We can't make this sell. We can't unlock this. It was like, oh my God. Like, I remember like one of the projects, I'm like, we should also cast YouTubers, because the audience, today's audience, probably relate to a YouTuber than a big name actor, right?
We'll know them more as well.
Yeah, exactly. You tell today's generation, Angelina Jolie, they're like, who? You say Mr. Beast or a really well-known streamer like, Else the Witch. They go, oh, we know Else the Witch, right? Not Angelina Jolie. Actually, I met Else the Witch. She's super lovely. We're on a panel together at the Edinburgh Festival, so I can name drop her. And she's probably super proud that I compared her to Angelina Jolie, actually. So, checkbox. No, she's super cool. But that's the point, right? The audience relate to that. And I remember the looks I was getting. They're like, what? Why would we hire a YouTube streamer on a movie? That makes no sense. That's when I realized, okay, I need to do my own thing. So I exit the company and I set up Beyond the Pixels. Here's the thing. Beyond the Pixels was originally a YouTube channel of mine. So it was running for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and it's basically me playing retro games that inspired me as a filmmaker. I wasn't a streamer. I was just me, I'm playing Castlevania. I'm so inspired by Castlevania because the soundtrack is really gothy, and I love the way they do the candles and the lighting. It's great. I'm playing R-Type, and I just love how the science fiction elements of that game is so cool. Or Snatcher, the Hideo Kojima first game, or Metal Gear. These are things that inspired me, and that's what the channel was, games that inspired me, right? But it was all had one sort of game. It was very much mid-90s, apart from PlayStation 1 games. When I announced in around February that I'm going to make my first indie video game, and it's going to be a 2D side scroller. People on LinkedIn were like, what now? That you spent your entire decade history in cinematics, beautiful unreal sequences, and you're going to make a pixel art 2D shoot 'em up, not even in Unreal. You're doing it in GDevelop, a JavaScript tool. Like, what? But on the flip side, all of the YouTubers, like the 100,000 subscribers I just amassed, right, over the year and a half or so, they were like, yeah, that tracks. We'll be watching this guy yap about retro gaming for about a year and a half. It tracks. He's now making one himself. So you kind of build that. Nothing happens overnight. But to me, it was more important to build the audience on YouTube than build an industry audience, because the industry audience are not the ones that are going to buy my games. They may finance my next stuff, but I needed to win the gamers, right? I needed to win the audience. So I remember making, it was called, obviously it's Astroburn, but Astroburn back then wasn't that game that you're seeing, like the cute 'em up. It was just R-Type featuring a cat. And one of the things I did, which I'm very glad I did, and I tell every gamer to do this, or every game developer to do that, is test early. I could have waited for a year and then showed him. Like within I'll tell you why. Imagine this, guys, right? I'm a film guy, so I'm not very technical at all. Like, I know my way, right? Flash action scripting, that's about it really, right? So with GDevelop, it's fantastic because you can do action scripting type code. Like, if this happens, make this happen, else do this. Basic conditions, right, for a game. So I remember the weekend, I'm learning how to move a box up, down, left, right. I'm like, oh my God. And I'll plug the controller in and put gamepad map in. I'm like, this is amazing. The next day, I'm going to learn to get that cube to fire a little ball, a little sphere, little primitive shapes, right? No art, nothing. Fire a primitive shape. The next day, what if that primitive shape hits another box and that box disappears? Once I had that, I had the mechanics of a shoot 'em up.
Is it still called Hit Test?
Yep.
That was a thing back in the
Newgrounds
days. It was just Flash games, and they were all side-scrolling shooters.
Absolutely. And you still use those fundamentals for games today. So I remember doing it, and I was showing it to our partner, and she's like, it's just a box firing. What's so amazing? I'm like, you don't understand. This changes everything. She's like, you are nuts. That's just a freaking cube. But to me, I'm like, this means that I can make a video game. I can make something with simple mechanics. So then I replaced the cube with a spaceship, had a cat story, and then I went to develop. Last year I was at develop, and the game was selected as the indie brilliant treasures. And and they knew it was work in progress. And that's the thing that I love about the game industry. You could do that. You can show really rough versions of it. People comment it, rip it to pieces. You go back and fix it and patch it, whatever. You can't do that in the movie industry. One hit, you're out, man. So yeah, director's jail they call it, right? I remember getting like all this feedback because this is really cool, man. But maybe you do this and that. Maybe make your collisions better. Maybe this. I'm taking all these notes. It's like free QA. This is amazing. I'm a solo dev at that point. Yeah, and I'm a solo dev at this point, right? So, but then I noticed a lot of streamers. I had a post, and the cat looked very different back then. It was still an orange cat, like my cat Mia, but except it was much more serious looking, right? Badass kind of space pilot kind of thing. And all these streamers were going up to play the game. Then they put the controller down after a few minutes and walked away. Oh my God, how bad is this game? So I'm like, hey, like real talk, what was the reason you going away? Just so I know. They go, oh look, there's nothing wrong with the game. It's just not our sort of game. I'm like, oh, so why did you go and play it? The cute cat. That's the only reason I went to see. I'm like, interesting. And then I had a Discord channel, and everyone was going to lean into the cats. I had a lot of cat puns from day one, by the way, even though it was R-Type. It was like R-Type with cat puns text appearing at the bottom, right? Like you explode them, Meotastic and all that stuff. I was just, no shame. And I realized, maybe I should lean into the cat stuff, but how do I? And by that point, I spent 3 or 4 months, probably around 4 months making the game. There was graphics already and stuff, right? Then I thought, let me just go look at my collections. I've got a collection of like Super NES games, right? Famicom games specifically. And there was 2 Famicom games I was flicking through that really stood out for me. And one was called Parodius, and the other one's called Poppin' Twin Now, back then, those games were made by Konami, and they were called Q-em-ups. And I didn't know about the term Q-em-up until I was reading a little manual, and I kind of like, use Google Translate, it translates Q-em-up. And I'm like, oh, that's an actual thing. I wish I made the term up, but no, it's an actual thing. And the thing about those games were, they were shoot-em-ups, but they replace bullets with fruits. They replace spaceships with cute animals. And the enemies were also gigantic, cute animals, mermaids, big giant cat ships and stuff. But it was niche. It was weird back then because we didn't have internet back then. We didn't have meme cultures back then. So it was labeled as niche gaming, like for the weirdos kind of thing, or like anyone that wants something wacky. Today, we have the internet culture. We have meme cultures, which is massive. If we made Parodius today, oh my God, that'd be huge. So I'm like, let me test this theory out. So I took one of the frames, And we had the boss, the big giant mech boss. I put a panda on top of it, and I posted it on LinkedIn and Instagram. And everyone's like, "That's funny, giant panda riding a mech. That's just so weird. We love it." I'm like, okay. And I replaced the spaceship with a cat in a jetpack fighting these big giant birds and replacing the projectiles with fruits. And I was like, "Oh my god, that is hilarious!" And I'm getting like journalists who are like, "Oh my god, I'll definitely cover this game." And then I realized one thing: compared to the film industry, in the game industry, the more batshit crazy, bold, and especially independent games, the more out there they are, the more reception you're going to get. Whereas in the film industry, that's like, ooh, super risky. We should just do what like John Wick did really well. Let's just do a John Wick movie. Whereas like in the indie games, if you try to be safe, then
it's just going to fall into obscurity. I mean, I'm just thinking now of all the games that I've played. Some of the stuff that I really, really like and have always really liked is wacky as hell. I mean, like the Katamari games, everything that Keita Takahashi has ever done, like Watam and Balatro, Baba Is You. Like there's so many little things. They're just cute. They're weird. They're not like anything else, and that's it. That's really it.
and that's indie gaming for you, right? Yeah. You know, and the gamers know what they're getting into. They like, you know. If they're going to buy a Last of Us or Cyberpunk, then they're expecting the level of realism. If they're buying an indie game, they're going to expect something that isn't that. And I think that's the problem I find a lot of devs that are trying to make Cyberpunk on a low budget, trying to make Last of Us on a low budget. And I remember I take that lessons that I did on my first movie. Don't try to make Star Wars on a low budget. And I did the same thing with this. So with Astroburn, I quickly changed it to a Akudama, and I made a whole announcement about it. And a lot of my other traditional game dev friends are like, "Ooh, you're kind of screwed there, mate, because you really kind of set this game up, and now you change it to Akudama. It doesn't look good." I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like people appreciate the story, the journey, and I kept all this stuff in there. And I started talking to PR companies. They go, you know, there's something about the story on how you made this game. And the fact that you leaned into the community, you embrace the community. And I thank the community all the time. And they're like, that's the magic of indie gaming. It isn't just about making cool games. It's about including the community in there. And all of a sudden, like, the game got really, like, getting a lot of traction. We got signed to a publisher. And it was like, yeah, because a lot of the publishers I was speaking to early last year were like, shmups are a tough genre, man. It's very competitive and stuff. I'm like, just not a shmup. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's a cute 'em up. They're like, okay, but that's just like saying
semantics.
Semantics. I'm like, no, because what we got here, and then I realized I gotta do something. And at that time, I was in Canada last year. I was shooting a live action trailer for Astroburn. That's the whole story how that happened. But basically, I was given a talk, a keynote, and I was on a virtual production stage talking about the future of film and all that stuff. And the guys there were like saying, look, we have a stage free for the day with crew and everything. So if you have an idea, just shoot something. I'm like, hold my drink. And I ended up shooting a mini trailer for Astro. But while I was shooting there was a bunch of other game devs. And I was chatting to them, and they're like, oh man, we love your whole vibe. We love how you share stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I love your games. You guys are awesome. And one of the guys there was an art director, and he was a freelance art director working on this game. And he goes, oh, can I have your card? And he's this Japanese-Canadian guy, really softly spoken, but like an amazing artist. And I arrive back in Gatwick. I put my phone and bing, 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 all these messages. And one of the emails was from this guy, Tak Yoneda, the Japanese artist. He goes, oh, HaZ, it was so lovely meeting you a couple of days ago. I took the liberty and I did a fan art for you. Hope you don't mind, just to show you how much I love the game. The fan art was so fucking cool that I'm like, I can't unsee this. I can't unsee it. It's burnt in my retina. I'm like, can we jump on the Zoom? He goes, sure. I'm like, dude, I want the entire game to look like this. He goes, are you sure? Because, like, you know, you've got... I'm like, I don't care. It was basically parodious. I go, look, man, like, this game's inspired by parodious. He goes, heavy Japanese voice, parodious. And he even said the Japanese. I'm like, yeah, you know, with the really cute... He goes, dude, I'm obsessed with that game since I was a kid. I'm like, oh my fucking god. Someone that actually knows this game. We got to be friends for life. We got to be brothers. Let's just do the blood pack now. And he's like, okay, just so you know, I'm a freelance art director. I'm kind of busy. I'm like, look, man, I don't have a lot of money to pay you. I'm an indie, but like, I can pay you something, of course. And I'll give you rev share in the game, whatever you want. He goes, look, man, I do this thing every evening. No matter what projects I'm on, every evening I have this me time where I just do a piece of art every day. He just draws every day a piece of art. It's amazing. Because what I do is every day I do a piece of art for Astroburn, and you can use it for loading screens, and end up being the rebrand of the whole game, just an FYI. Strategically, I molded him. Yeah, can you just do this and that? Great. Can I get it as a PNG? Great. Can I get it for great? And he didn't realize he was literally rebranding the whole game without him knowing. It's only after he goes, did I just rebrand the whole game? I'm like, yes, you did. Thank you. It's the power of being a director, is getting people to do stuff. That's but he's fantastic. He's a collaborator as well. And then we just, like, people started taking the game seriously. It's got unique, iconic artwork. It's, the title's the only thing that stayed the same, which has got the paw embedded in the O of Astro. Thank you.
I do love
that.
that.
Looks cool, though. It does look good.
That's the only thing that I kept from the original. And that's something that I sketched out and then hired an artist to kind of redraw it for me. But everything else, he does. He did that as he made the cat cuter. Everything had an aesthetic to it, right? So we got signed to a publisher called Pixel Doors. And this was before GDC as well. So this year we got signed. And I remember speaking to the publishers. I'm like, so there's a company called Pixel Doors. They're a fairly new publisher based in Amsterdam. And they've made a lot of noise in the game industry because they're basically a bunch of guys that came from bigger publishing companies and so set their own company. And they're fed up of the way the publishing model works. It's not working. It's clearly not working. Developers are not making money. Publishers are not making money unless they spend a lot of money, right? The recoup is too high. So they go, we need to change that. So they come up with this model where they go, we're not going to take a single penny from the revenue until the developer makes 100 grand. That's the deal. So essentially, they have to make sure they work their asses off in order for the game to make 100 grand, and then they can make revenue. You can imagine it was on Game Developer, it was on every single website, Game Industry Biz. I was like, who are these guys? I'm like, this is insane. So I'm just going to send my stuff in. Why not, right? Me and 3,000 other people. And they did. They got a lot of submissions. And then I got an email back from Jacek and Nick, the guys who run it. Go, hey, we just looked at your game, Astro Burn. We played it. We liked it. Can we have a conversation? Like, yeah. And they go, we'd like to sign it. I'm like, oh my God. And they just signed this other game previously called Mad King Redemption, which we're the second game they signed. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I have to ask you the question, why?
Why
They
me?
go,
Yeah.
why this game? They go, honestly, it's the most bonkers thing we've ever played. And because it's that's what attracted us to this. It's bonkers. It's subversive. One of the things in there, because you guys played the game, right? So there's one thing in there. So most shmup games, you build up your power bar and then you get big, massive, gigantic, big laser weapons, crazy stuff. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do a genre mashup? What if we took the things that I love about Street Fighter 2 and the things that I love about shmup and put them together? So now when you hit the B button, your cat goes into this big giant thing and does a Meowdookin fireball, a Meow Dragon Punch, spin cat kick. We got it all in there. And poor Q-Unada is like, this is insane what we're drawing, but I don't know how this is going to fit in the game, but you do your thing. And now when you hit the B button, you have this thing. And I tested it, and I went to a bunch of events. The London Games event, where London Games Festival, where you guys were, watching people hit the B button, and they go, Meowdookin, and he's that smile. A lot of them were like, what the fuck just happened? But more so, this is funny. And that's what I mean about being subversive. And I feel like you can do that in indie gaming. In indie gaming, anything goes. If I was pitching this on a AA game, or a AAA game at this case,
It just wouldn't happen. It's far too risky. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, are you crazy? Why would we genre mash? And I'm like, no, let's genre mash. And so therefore, this game is literally anything goes of what I'm thinking about. One of the things I was doing before coming on this call was, because the game's in early access. So right now, the game's in early access. And it's scary because I never thought a game like this would be early access. I always thought early access is cyberpunky games or lore-driven games. But the publishers, like Pixel Doors, really believe early access will help because it helped build a community. And I'm doing that already. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust you, publisher. I don't know if this is going to work. And it's been phenomenal. We've had positive reviews. We've had one negative review. But check this out. The negative review is the one, you do a developer's response. So this is the only one I responded to. And the negative one was very constructive. It goes, it's very noisy in terms of the sounds. And there's a bunch of things that need to fix. But, if those things are fixed, then this game is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? That deserves a response. Mm-hmm. So I responded and said, hey, thank you so much for playing this game. I really appreciate the feedback, and one of the things I want to do in early access is to really involve you guys in this to help make this game that we want to make, that the game that we want to play, the Kino. And he responded because, wow, that I wasn't expecting a developer's response, but thank you so much. And it's nice to get a developer response that genuinely cares about the comments. And I love that. And that is the point of early access. I love that.
Probably a dog.
I reckon he was a dog person. I reckon he was. You know what? That's probably what it was, dude. It's those freaking Doberman owners, man. Damn it.
Wow, not just dog people, Dobermans.
Specifically Dobermans.
Yeah, just that's your next game.
Doberman
is it?
apology,
Doberman
that's what it's
rescue
gonna have to be.
or whatever. Yeah. Doberman apology.
That's a wicked DLC, actually. Don't really do that. But one of the biggest comments we've had is the music. everyone comments on how cool the music is. And I have the big shout out to Roman Rapak from Venice Bleach. So Venice Bleach is this French Parisian band. They do synthwave type music. They tour around the world and stuff. But Roman I've known since the Unreal Engine days. He's like a bro. And he's also a hardcore gamer, specifically retro gaming. So he's like, dude, you know I'm doing the music for you, yeah? I'm like, yeah, but the budget goes, I'm doing the freaking music for you, whether you like it or not. Just whatever your budget is, I'm doing the music for this. I'm like, okay. And his music, the minute I start putting the music in, like early last year, in fact, the music started coming in even when I was in prototyping stage. Because of the film world, visual music is a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a marriage, like one or the other you can't have, right? And his music, the pacing, the music, the weird stuff. And then we were doing a Zoom session, right? And I was like, wouldn't it be cool? We just had cat meows in the background, just even on the menu screen, you could hear the meows, but like someone meowing in space, echoing, right? Like, and we're like, just put that in.
Fabulous.
It's just so cool. We got that in there. And then I went over to Paris. There's a whole YouTube video about it. You should definitely check it out on my YouTube channel, where I show the process how we made the music and how we do the cat sounds and everything. And it is a bit weird how we did the sound. You have to check it out. No spoiler alert, but check it out. But then
definitely.
and then he's like, we're doing this mute and here we go meow 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 meow, and we're putting that with a beat. We're like, this is dope. I can dance to this. And again, we're like, this is not how music is made in games, but we're like, freaking catify it. Why not, right? And the music just got so much love. And now we're doing a Kickstarter. We're going to do a physical release, which is the cartridge with the USB. And because that's the other thing I wanted to do, was I didn't want to just make a game, guys. I wanted to revisit the times that I really enjoyed, in my opinion, the golden era of 90s gaming, right? And that was a time where you are not locked to a platform. So yeah, the games will be on, this game's on Steam, it's on GOG, it'll be released on all the platforms, even Switch eventually. But I want a version where you can actually buy the cartridge, get the DRM free USB, put it in your Mac and your PC and play it. And have an instruction. Yeah, and have an instruction manual and share the game with your friends. Yeah. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's an $8.99 game, right? People are going to buy the game. If it's a fucking 60 quid game, there are issues to be that pirated. I would not want to be like Capcom or something and be pissed, right? But I wanted to make a game that's affordable, very easy to play, 2 buttons, shoot and special moves. That's all you need. There's no funkiness you need to learn. There's a tutorial at the start of the game, but honestly, you can just pick that up in a way. And that's the sort of game I wanted to make. So I wanted the whole movement and the whole Kickstarter campaign. We teamed up with 33 Games, with an amazing physical publisher. They're kind of limited run games, but based in the UK. And we're doing a vinyl, we're doing cassette, we're doing a CD of the audio, we're doing the whole thing. So the kids today were like, what's a cassette, dude? You know what? Stranger Things, man. Respect to Stranger Things. They got all the kids to be in Games Workshop now. They've got all the kids playing D&D. These kids are like, what is D&D? What are they talking about? Demogorgons? What? So I feel like Stranger Things kind of opened up the nostalgic 90s retro.
Totally. And I mean, you can see that with like D&D now. It's taken off. I mean, obviously, Baldur's Gate contributed to that as well.
Yeah, it's come back in a really big way.
Massively.
Stranger Things definitely to make
like kids listening. Yeah, and I remember going to HMV in January this year. I was downstairs at HMV in Oxford Circus. Usually you find people like our age, right? Like, just like, oh, vinyls, cassette. There was so many teenage girls and boys. They're like, oh my God, this is Blondie. I'm like... Blondie?
What the hell has happened?
This is so Aerosmith. Oh my God. Oh, we've got to get the Michael Jackson Bad record. Oh my God. Got to get it on vinyl because they're making a new Michael Jackson film. I'm like, wow. So it's not just nostalgia. And I'm finding this is a big thing. Like, we're in a world now where, if you look at streaming, right? If you buy a movie on digital, you don't technically own it. Because if I disconnect from Apple or Amazon, I lose my purchases. Right? Yeah. And you just lose your purchases. So there's this thing now where people don't want to have to pay for access. They want ownership. They want preservation.
And rightly so.
Yeah, and rightly so. Exactly. And the thing about, like, even like platforms like Netflix, when I released my 2 movies that end up going on Netflix, like The Beyond and Origin though, I remember the distribution company was like, can you give us 30 frames, screenshots from the movie? I'm like, what do you want 30 for? You just need to post them too. No, because what they do is they have an algorithm, right? So if, for example, like Jack, if you watch rom-coms, you're going to get a lot of the shots with just the 2 people speaking, right? The algorithm picks that. And was more if you like hardcore science fiction, then you'll get the robots and the space shots. Yeah. So it's algorithm driven, but also from what I'm hearing now, a lot of the shows that are made, commissioned by Netflix, produced by Netflix, they can at any point change scenes in the film and completely change the movie for you. They have control on the content that you've purchased. these young kids are savvy now. They're like,
Yeah, they did that with a Goofy movie. They changed scenes on Disney Plus. Yeah, I mean that's one of my favorite films. But going off of that, like, it's stuff as well. I mean, like that Edge magazine, I bought that. I remember that because of our conversation. It's got something to it. Yeah. Having a physical thing, it's a story, you know? And that's what you're paying for, really. And I'm happy to pay more
absolutely.
for that.
I mean, they're not on camera at the moment. They're on the other side of the room. But I have well in the 3 digits of a figure collection. Like, I like collecting stuff. Jack likes collecting. We all are a little bit materialistic. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But, like... Yeah, I'm completely with you. Having a digital game, it's fine. You know, I can pick it up, I can put it down whenever, I can undownload it, re-download it if I want it, you know, if something else hasn't been optimized on my hard, that's ridiculous as well as a complete side note. But having something and being able to pick it up, like, I've still got my 3DS games in their cases by my bedside table with my 3DS. Same with my PSP games. If I still had my PS2, it'd be the same with that. Like, I like stuff. Everyone likes stuff. And at that point, you get to show it off to people. You get to go, hey, look at this really fucking cool thing that I bought the other day. Like, do you want to touch it? Do you want to hold it? Jack purchased a while back now for a little in-person segment we did, a Pocket Station, you know, that little peripheral add-on.
Yeah.
Me getting to hold it, like, I think I nearly cried on camera because it was like the coolest fucking thing in the world. People love stuff like that. So genuinely, I really admire the dedication to, like, actually getting it out on physical media. Big fucking props to you, man.
Thanks, man. You know, and the interesting thing is the London Games Festival, more people were speaking about the cartridge than anything. They're like, the game looks cool. Tell us about the cartridge. And we got collector's cards and like little mini Pokemon cards. And people are like, well, when we get this, I'm like, well, we haven't launched Kickstarter yet. It's on pre-launch. You can pre-launch and follow it, but we haven't launched it yet. And they're like, oh my god, like, tell us more. Like, you know, we'll pay the premium for this. We just want to be able to hold something.
We want the stuff. And that's when we want the cards.
Yeah, I know. But there's something tactile that we're missing in society today, right? And that's why, you know, I was speaking earlier about gaming being a social thing. Like, even co-op gaming. Like, I remember playing GoldenEye on the N64. I remember, like, and I was working in Tesco's at the time, and we would all, like, so we bought the N64 in. We took the TVs. We had, like, 4
in the break
TVs.
Room.
Yeah. There was literally the break room. We had, like, chicken and donuts and stuff, and we would just be playing GoldenEye. And it was the fact that everyone's, like, you know, egging each other on, you know, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Missed that, and that's competitive game. That's not even co-op. But yeah, there was that social element. I feel like today we have social element. A lot of it's online, but there is a level of toxicity that I'm finding. Like, when I got into Fortnite, I was shocked.
Oh yeah.
When we were like, I forgot about turning voice off, right? Because PlayStation just has it, right? So I'm testing and I'm sniping this guy, and this guy goes, "Oi, dude, like, I will F you up." I'm like, what? I'm the developer of the game. What the? Like, how are you? What? And I was like, yeah, you dig, you double. And it's all. I'm like, oh my god, and this is like insane. What the hell?
Incredible, isn't it? It's one of the benefits of this podcast as well, because I've played through some games that Mol's played, and I keep giving them my reactions to them, and it's this sort of communal thing that we used to do at school. Like, you go in and say, I got to this bit in the game, and that was part of it for me. And it's the first time I've experienced that in years, because most people I know locally don't play games. So I don't have that anymore, whereas now we do. So it's great.
I mean, I love being able to hear people's reactions to stuff, that, especially stuff that's like really dear to my heart. Like, for my personal Discord, I've set up a server with a few friends, bought them all a game that, like, I've been playing for 10 years or so, love to absolute pieces. And I'm like, guys, I want you to play. I'm going to set you up all with your own channels. I just want your thoughts and reactions in real time. I don't care how batshit this gets. And, like, I've had some really good times just being like, right, I know I should be doing something a bit more productive than just, like, tapping away on Discord. But one of my friends has gotten to a point in this game that is just like, I love this point. I want to see how they react. Is this Among Us?
Is the game's not Among Us?
No, this is a visual novel rather than like a playable game. But yeah, it's just been so great to see people's reactions. And, like, again, I know people have done it with me as well. Like, hey, play this game. I love it. I want to see how you react to it. I'm being played through some of the old Legend of Zelda games at the moment, because I never got to play them for myself. So being able to go through Ocarina of Time and then be like, wow, I finally get it, and we're finishing up Majora's Mask this weekend. It's been a real fucking experience. And for me, it's just like, you know, stuff will happen. I'll sit there in silence and go, this is a fucking weird game, and just to hear my friends laugh, like, it's a great experience. I love that kind of stuff.
We definitely need more of that, and I feel like This is one of the things I love going to events. Like I love going to I'm going to be at Timeless, which is in I think Liverpool, and I just love the fact that I get to see people play the game and see people react to it. I did this video, a London Games Festival video, it was on LinkedIn, and basically I was just filming people from behind, from the side, and just for them reacting to the game. And you watch it back, and as a developer, it's kind of poured your heart and soul in it, and you see the reaction of people, and they're genuinely smiling, they're genuinely reacting to your game. You're like, there's no better feeling than that, I feel like I'm making this for you guys.
I know I've spoken before on the podcast to Jack about, I've been involved in fandom for my entire life. I've drawn fan art, I've written fanfic, I've done all that kind of stuff. And there is definitely something to be said about make stuff for yourself primarily, because, you're the target audience at the end of the day. You're the one making it. You don't want to burn yourself out. You want to enjoy it. But making stuff for other people is its own certain reward to it as well. Being able to hit, pass around a piece of fan art or a piece of fanfic and to hear people be like, I really liked this. I think twice in the last couple of months, completely by random, I've seen people discussing a fic that I wrote about 5 or 6 years ago, and just to be like, that's me. You guys are talking really positively about
yeah.
Holy shit, that it's such a good feeling. So yeah.
I think even provoking a reaction as well. We've done a video recently and there's been some negative comments, but they've not been like you described there, HaZ, where it was aggressive. There's lots of debating type things, and people have thought out their responses. And for me, even that's cool. What I said invokes something in you.
It's all about opening discussion, which
successful
is the whole point of getting people on and talking to them.
One thing that happened last year while I was doing the early version, before the queue them up phase, was I was creating graphics, temp placeholder graphics, right? And I'm like, God, I don't want to spend all this money on amazing sprite artists yet, but my sprite art skills are not the best. I can do sprite art, but I'm not freaking amazing. But I know Unreal Engine. So I built a shader in Unreal Engine that creates faux sprite art, right? Kind of pixelates it. Just put it in there. So it's all original content, right? It's all Unreal Engine, but just rendered in a pixel art style shader. Put it in there, and I thought it looked pretty cool. And then people on YouTube are like, oh, that's generative AI right there. I'm like, no, I purposely chose not to do generative AI by going to do something in Unreal. And they're like, yeah, it's all generative AI. That's just shit. And all these people comment. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Hold my drink. I'm going to create a freaking tutorial. More content. Great. I created an entire video showing step by step how I did the process. And those same people were like, oh, my bad. Wow, that's actually pretty cool. Sorry, we didn't mean to say. It's just that we just assume because it got that certain Unreal that CG look. We just assume it's oh, thank you, my bad. And then we'll get one freaking troll was like, yeah, that video's AI too, dude. I'm like, the video of me explaining.
I think it's cool though what you do with the YouTube channel as well, because the behind the scenes stuff, that's cool. I love behind the scenes stuff, but it's kind of the antidote to AI, isn't it? It's this is the creative process. And I think in the past, a lot of people have kept that behind a paywall. But actually now, having it out there, it opens doors for people. It gets rid of the gatekeeping.
Now more than ever, we need to share as much knowledge of how stuff is made. Because, we're going into the AI talk now, but seriously, it's a big topic at the moment. Here's the thing. When 3D stereo glasses came out, it was only the James Camerons and the Peter Jacksons that had access to that technology to make that content, and only us consumers would go and watch it. And we had the choice to queue up for the 3D glass version or the normal standard one. With generative AI, it's a tool that anyone and everyone can have access to it. You give that power, that technological power, to everyday consumers to make stuff, that's not going away. That's here to stay. Now, the unfortunate thing about that is the people with the money, the suits, see that and they only see the bottom line. They go, well, hang on a sec. Why would we hire a studio and spend X amount to make this when someone could just prompt explosion and it kind of looks just as good? Right? They're not really artistic. They see the bottom line, and that starts to become a problem because other executives start seeing that. And I think if this generative AI came out, say, 20 years ago, I think it would have been the de facto way of doing stuff. But today, content is driven so much by its audience, right? I mean, look at the Sonic the Hedgehog movie when that first came out and the trailer came out, and it had that really weird, uncanny valley Sonic. Yeah. People were like, that is fucking shoddy, shocking. NPC went back and redid every single shot because they're like, oh my God, we cannot fuck with the audience, right? That's power. That level of power audience has, and I feel like with AI, it's the same thing. Yes, AI is not going away. We're gonna see a lot of it, right? As a developer myself, I could either be like, I'm gonna look away, or I need to be across it, but I don't need to use it in my work. But I need to at least have an understanding of what it's doing so that I'm not in the blind, right?
It's lost. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to be aware of it. But I chose consciously not to use any form of generative AI in Astro Burn for a lot of reasons. Firstly, I'm making a game that is reflecting the 90s culture. For starters, it's side-scrolling pixel art. But also, this is my first indie game. Reputationally, I can't afford to get any kind of backlash. So a lot of people, like my tech friends, right? They're like, we can just generate all this stuff that you've done in AI. I'm like, I'm sure you can, but there's something to be said about artistic value. And then I start getting a lot of like pixel artists, and they go, "Oh well, we're fucked, man. We're fucked. We're like, our jobs are on like artists are. I'm going to give up." I'm like, guys, I think you guys are missing the trick here. We're going to be so oversaturated with generative AI. I mean, if your Instagram and TikTok isn't filled up now, it will be. We're so full up with that, people are going to be able to spot generative AI, right? And look, I'm going to put my hands up. I love the generative AI content that's on TikTok with the cats. I'm going to say it. Whisker's podcast is my favorite. 2 cats talking, I'm down for that, right? But that doesn't mean you should use generative AI. I feel like you have to use smartly. But here's the thing. We're going to get so saturated that when a piece of art comes out that is made by a human, that is artistically created, we're talking Mona Lisa territory here. That's where art starts to have value. And I feel like generative AI may be diminishing a lot of artist work and stuff, but I feel like give it a year or so, when a piece of work comes out and stands out, that value, people, that's why I feel like even with the cartridges, like, this is just a USB dongle in a cool cartridge, but I feel like I'm getting more traction on this piece of hardware because it has a certain value. The value of ownership, the value of like, this is not some piece of generative AI. This is a physical thing someone molded and printed and put some love and care in. I can smell it and stuff. So I feel like that's where we're going to be at when it comes to art and AI.
Yeah, well said. One of my last questions then is really going to be, so what's the future for you, HaZ? Because obviously, Astro Burn's in early access at the moment, but what comes after? What's in the future for you?
Well, there's a lot happening. So obviously forward-facing, everyone sees Astro Burn, but like, Beyond the Pixels is a company, right? So I'm developing a bunch of other games. I can't say what they are because one of the things I'm doing is I'm bringing in my film and TV world into the world of gaming. And so what we're doing is we're creating modern retro style games based on film and TV IP. Really well-known, high-profile film and TV
exciting
IP.
stuff.
So now making games from movies and movie shows is not new. It's been going on since the 80s, right? I've got the RoboCop game on Commodore 64, the Harry Potter games on PlayStation 3 or whatever. But what we're doing is we're taking the idea of modern retro, side-scrolling, pixel art, and extending the longevity of film IP. Because usually when a film comes out, unless there's like multiple sequels, it's done. Now, how they make the money is they sell it to various territories, various platforms. But what if we extend that life into the world of modern retro and see it from a new lens? So that's what we're doing at the moment. We're kind of developing these ideas, talking to really, because my connection to film and TV, I may as well leverage that, right? And also, the next original IP game, I do want another cue 'em up. I feel like it's a genre that's so cool. I feel like the competition for it isn't as big, but also I feel like I've set this kind of like reputation now that you're the cat guy. So,
there's worse things to be. You could be a Doberman guy.
Yes, exactly. So the next original IP game that will come out Beyond the Pixels will be a cue 'em up. Whether it's a shoot 'em up or a beat 'em up, that remains to be revealed.
But either way, it'll be very cute, I'm sure.
It'll definitely be very cute and it'll be even more bombastic. I feel like I found the platform for the storytelling. And I love film and TV, but there's something about indie games that I feel like I can really be myself and really connect with the audience.
Awesome. Well, I wish you every luck for the future. I'm very excited to play through Astro Burn when it's fully completed as well. I'm looking forward to the Doberman DLC in specific. I'm a cat person. I'm looking forward to this whole Doberman shtick at this point. But no, I genuinely, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, HaZ.
Oh, thank you.
Please, where can people find you online? Where can they find your things?
I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. So you can find me on YouTube. Go to Beyond the Pixels. Subscribe. There's lots of behind the scenes stuff on there you can watch. And there's a sci-fi filmmaking 101, 14 episode, learn about filmmaking. It's all on there, free to watch. You can go to my website, Beyond the Pixels. I'm also on X, Bluesky, again, Beyond the Pixels. On Instagram, you can find me as, don't judge me, HaZ Dullul. You can find me on that, HaZDazzle. You can find me on that. And LinkedIn, I'm very prominent on LinkedIn. So find me, HaZ Dullul on LinkedIn. I'm always answering people. And also, I love other indie devs to connect because I like to kind of reshare their work and kind of help each other out. And so, yeah, I'm everywhere. You can find me.
Excellent. Jack, whereabouts can we find you online?
So I am JackieBoy34 everywhere, apart from X, which I use occasionally, which I'm JackMel8. And we are EXP Required on YouTube.
As usual, I can be found at Adramelech, and of course EXP Required as well. HaZ, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real joy talking to you.
Thank you guys for listening to the story and
See you later.
chatting to you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.